Your long, Bill, has been very impressive and exciting for the fans with your what you call Freaky Fridays. What did the pole for you and this team do as far as the accomplishment, and what's it give you?
No, it means a lot. I mean, this team has not won in a while, and not the team, but our number 10, and it's been great. Got a lot of help from the other guys, and Mike's done a great job. And I got to thank Dodge also, because, man, we had some horsepower in that thing yesterday on Friday. But I'm really happy. You know, it just pumps us up a little bit. The race, want to finish top 20, we got to be realistic about it. And if we get a top 20 out of this, it'll be a perfect weekend for us.
Now, strategy going in, you've never been here before racing in a stock car. So initially going in the first segment of the race, how are you going to settle in?
Yeah, we're just going to try to keep the Berlin City car off the walls there and run the whole race and get some points. We still got to think about the top 35. So for us, that's the main goal here. It's great we got the pole, and I hope I can lead a few laps, or one lap at least, and then settle in and get a top 20. That would be great, you know, because still got to learn the track and stuff, and also the car, you know, that's the hardest part. These guys, they can't adjust the car while they're racing, and they know what they want. I'm still struggling finding out what I need when I'm racing, but we'll get there.
A lot of fans here for this Canadian. In fact, he's the only second Canadian to ever win a Sprint Cup Series pole. The last time it happened, 1953, Lloyd Shaw, but he didn't win. But a guy named Lee Petty finished second that day at Langhorne.
Well, while Patrick Carpentier might be trying to gain experience here at New Hampshire, Jeff Gordon, you've won here 3 times at the Magic Mile. Do you have enough magic in this car to get one today?
I certainly hope so. You know, last year at this race we started 18th. Today we're starting 19th. And, you know, we were able to have a great race car as well as some great pit strategy to get us up there. So it's going to take a lot of that same thing today. And DuPont Chevrolet was pretty good yesterday. A little bit different conditions today. We just, you know, hope the weather holds out and we get all 301 laps in today. I needed one extra lap the last time we were at this race last year.
Well, Bill, if anybody can find the magic, it could be this former 3-time winner here at New Hampshire.
You're absolutely right, Ralph. See how it all plays out this afternoon here in New Hampshire. The countdown is at 0, and the race is coming up on TNT.
This has been the All-State Countdown to Green. Let's go racing.
And join this afternoon's pre-race ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and remove your hats as the New Hampshire National Guard All-Service Color Guard presents the nation's colors. Here to offer today's invocation, please welcome Billy E. Malden Jr., President and CEO of Motor Racing Outrage.
Heavenly Father, we just pause and ask your blessings upon this day and give you thanks for it. We give you thanks for the staff management and the sponsors that have worked hard to make this event possible for us. We ask you to watch over our competitors today. Keep them safe, Lord. Keep everybody in your protective hands. Lord, we give you thanks for the men and women that are serving and protecting our nation at home and abroad. Watch over them. Keep them safe as well. Father, may you be glorified this day in all that we do. In Christ's name, amen.
And now, please welcome Dan Clark from the Massachusetts State Police as he performs our national anthem. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave
it that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free? And the home of the brave.
I think they're ready to go now. The crew's getting ready on pit road. Our coverage from New Hampshire continues in a moment. TNT Sports live at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway in Loudon, New Hampshire, getting set for this afternoon's NASCAR Sprint Cup race. Here you see the cars lined up along pit road and getting set to go. Let's head down to pit road. Here's Ralph Shaheen.
Bill, each week, if one of the Roush cars is way off on their setup and their pace, they call it a guinea pig car. This week, that's going to be Carl Edwards. He's off the pace, extremely tight, so they put a very radical setup inside that car. So radical that it's one that doesn't leave them a lot of adjustments on pit road. He's committed to this setup all day today, Matt Yoakum.
Ralph, Kyle Busch will tell you the one trend that he has seen this year is places he expects to dominate right from the get-go on Friday. He has had to work up to it. It's always been a work in progress. New Hampshire falls into that category. They were not great on Friday, progressively gotten better throughout the weekend. Now he feels like he's got a great car to contend with, but as crew chief Steve Addington will tell you, starting mid-pack, his biggest concern during the first segment is just to be patient. Save those fenders trying to get through the field to the front. And just to keep in mind, he's got a decent pit stall on pit road, but the guy who's second in points, Jeff Burton, pitting right behind him today. To Marty Snyder.
Well, Matt, you talked to everybody in the garage area this morning, and most of them will tell you that Kevin Harvick is the man to beat today here at New Hampshire. But I just talked to Todd Barrier moments ago. He's a little concerned because earlier in practice yesterday, the track was cool and cloudy. Today, all of a sudden, the sun's out here, and it's going to be slick. So a little concerned the setup they have in the 29 car may not be exactly what they want here this afternoon. I can talk English, Lindsay Zarniak.
I know you can, Marty Snyder. Sounds all good to me. Denny Hamlin is the guy that hasn't caught many breaks lately, but that could all change this afternoon. He is the defending champion of this race from last July. He thinks that the weather change that you just talked about, Marty Snyder, is going to mean big things for Denny Hamlin, who last year won this race on pit strategy, Bill.
Thanks, Lindsay. Hope you guys and girl have a great race down there this afternoon, along with the fans that have packed the New Hampshire Motor Speedway this afternoon. 27th race here at New Hampshire. 4 times the race has been won from the pole. 2 of those were first-time winners, Clint Boyer and Ryan Newman. Today it's Patrick Carpentier on the pole in just his 17th career start, looking for his first NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race. The sun is trying to come out. Should be a fun afternoon. Let's take you trackside now at New Hampshire and get the command for today's race.
And now it's time for the most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command to fire the engines, please welcome Lenox Industrial Tools heroes Claude Walker and Michael Williamson.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
This track measures at just over a mile in length. That makes this race 318.4 miles. That's 301 laps. Don't miss the last one. NASCAR
This is Loudon.
TNT Sports presents NASCAR. Today, it's the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway in Loudon, New Hampshire. Man, it's been threatening to rain all day, but it hasn't. Air temperature 74 degrees. The humidity is way up there. It's calm, and it might rain, but we're going to cross our fingers and hope it doesn't. Hi, everybody. Bill Weber along with Wally Dolleback and Kyle Petty. Thanks for having us in for the race. Qualifying here was interrupted by a 1 hour and 55-minute rainstorm. That means there are fast cars that went before qualifying and faster cars that went after. Patrick Carpentier is on the pole. There are some guys that are really fast at the front of this field, but they may only be fast for a lap.
I think so. I'm going to say a word. It doesn't really make sense for a race car driver. That's patience. But you do have to keep some a little bit. At least things get sorted out. There's some guys in the back, like you said, that didn't get the break when the track was cool when they qualified, so they're in the back. And it's really tough to pass here. So there's other ways you have to get to the front. I think getting to the first pit stop is going to make a big difference on what Kyle, the master of strategery. Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. But I think at the beginning of this race, these guys just have to be careful, pick their way through, and get to that first pit stop.
Yeah, I think it's exactly like you say, Wally. The thing is, these guys, we've got so many good cars starting at the back. It seems like every TNT race we've had good cars starting at the back, and you've added it to the front. I think we saw Denny Hamlin do it last year, win this race. We saw Tony Stewart two-tire yesterday and win the nationwide race, and you're going to see it today. The problem with two-tiring is this: if you get along green and you've got those two right sides, you wear out those lefts. At some point in time, no matter how many times you two-tire, you got to get four, and that's how the race is going to play out. Whoever ends up on the right cycle at the end of the race.
And if there's an early caution, that could really jumble the running order. Let's get you started. Take a look at the starting grid for this afternoon's race, presented by Miller Lite. The Coors Light Pole Award went to Patrick Carpentier. It's his first and comes in his 17th career Cup Series race. Bobby Labonte's outside row one. Former New Hampshire winner Kevin Harvick has the Shell Pennzoil Chevy in row two next to Scott Briggs. The National Guard Chevy marches from the fifth spot with Dale Jr. in command. Reed Sorensen is in the Target Dodge. After sitting out the road race in Sonoma, he starts sixth. We'll walk you through the rest of the starting grid here. Wally's going to jump on the radio.
Yeah, let's try Jeff Burton. Hey, Jeff, this is Wally up in the booth. Do you hear me?
I got you.
All right, man. Well, you've got 4 wins here. You're kind of the king of this place, and I know that you probably would like a better qualifying spot. This is a really, really tough place. When it comes to track position, this place you have to have it. What do you have a plan? Are you going to try to just get to that first pit stop and do some strategy? What are you going to do?
We're just going to race. Take every lap for what it is. Try to get our way out there the old-fashioned way. I think we got a good race car. I just can't try to make much happen. You just got to be patient and let it come to us.
Thanks, Jeff. Good luck today.
I'm going to go a touch more than 5, call 5.
Talking to his crew there, getting the tack reading, and he used that word Wally brought up already. Patience. See how it plays out for Jeff Burton. Continue to go through the starting grid, and here's Larry Mack.
Well, Bill, one reason I think strategy and going with different game plans is the fact if we look at the 2 practices yesterday, of our 43 cars, it looked like 35 of them were pretty much running about the same speed. And when you look at, like you guys were talking, a lot of guys at the back of the field, they have some better race cars. For example, like our points leader, Kyle Busch, he's going to start 27th. I talked to Steve Addington. He said, absolutely, we know we're going to have to roll the dice early in the race and get that track position early, but my man will have to be patient.
Thank you, Larry. Boy, I'll tell you, the sun is shining here in New Hampshire.
I didn't get here until late Friday night, but they said it was like you talked about the rain during qualifying and all that. And yesterday, it was pretty cool.
Field out of turn 4, green flag in the air.
Carpentier lights up the racetrack, and this is what I think we talked about in the countdown at green. You got to be careful because all these guys are bumper to bumper right now. So if they start lining up on the bottom, well, Patrick is fighting hard on the outside.
And Patrick got a great start. I mean, he just drove away. That's a rookie start. You saw how he didn't wait until they throw the green flag. He just took off, which was good, but that was
There you go, bud. Good job. Y'all be getting a little heat in them now. Check them out if you
advance.
And he really wanted those 5 bonus points, too.
Yeah, and he did. He hung tough on the outside. He could have just as easily let the 29, but the 29 got a great run, and here's Bobby on the inside. Bobby's hung tough there. He fell in the 3rd place in the 43 car, and he's hung tough right there.
This morning, the official forecast here was for a 60% of showers throughout the day. We haven't seen any of them yet. We're going to try and keep it that way. Just want to let you know that because some of these teams may be thinking about racing hard to be the leader at halfway. See how that plays out at lap 151.
You see Reed Sorensen take a position away from the 88 car. The Ganassi cars were good from the time they unloaded the truck, especially the 41 car. And I know we've talked about it in pre-race and some of the other stuff, but they just naturally fell into a rhythm here, especially Reed.
Dale Jarrett in that Dale Earnhardt Jr. rather in that 88 car. Behind Reed Sorensen in the 41. Then Truex Jr. That's for the lead. Harvick looking inside once again. Harvick should get it here, and Bobby Labonte will try and follow.
You know, but it was good that Patrick, at least for 5 laps, was out front. He kind of let this thing stretch out a little bit, so if a couple of guys got underneath him, there was a hole for him to get to.
Yeah, because you know how we talked about it before. You can get hung on the outside here, especially when guys have good tires on and just get freight trained like you see at Daytona and Talladega. They just drive by you.
He may not be as lucky next time.
Actually, his car looks like it's handling pretty well right now. I mean, he's hanging right there.
And every lap that goes by, he feels better and better about it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think especially at the start there with the low tire pressures, it kind of caught him out a little bit. The car slid up on the first lap, but once those pressures came in and the temperatures came up.
For no pressure from the 1.
That's on board with Earnhardt.
You know, it's been funny coming up here this time with this car. I think the last race we came up here and you saw Clint Boyer and those guys in this car, they ran right on the bottom. But a lot of guys ran really high. They ran up a lot higher than what you see out of Earnhardt's car. You see them almost on the yellow line down on the bottom. But these guys in practice, it's been so cool. There's been so much grip on the bottom of the racetrack as you see Earnhardt take the position here. They've gone back to the bottom of the racetrack here.
Marty.
Well, Bill, you guys have talked about some of the fast cars being in the back of the pack. Talked to Kevin Harvick's team and Bobby Labonte's team this morning. They knew that. They wanted to get to the front and lead as much as they could. They were a little bit impatient to get up there, trying to get to the front as soon as they could. But Bobby Labonte and his team talked about that on the radio before the start.
One thing to do today, too, is being we single file a lot, is if, you know, let's just say Harvick's on my butt, and I don't want to push it too hard. You'll let me know, like, he's clear by 10 car lengths, 5 car lengths, 20 car lengths, whatever. So just gonna have to race the racetrack if somebody's rolled fast, you know. But you know, I don't want to give it up if there's only get freight trained, but I don't want to push it too hard either.
And Wally and Kyle, you got a car like that, and you know there's fast cars coming behind you. You want to get as far out ahead as you can.
Yeah, and also you don't want to waste a lot of time racing a guy side by side, because that's gonna close everybody up behind you. So it's better off just to let the guy go, especially if he's a little bit faster right now, and it doesn't hurt your lap times.
No, and as you're talking about that, you see the 66 of Scott Riggs let the 88 go, and it's just like you said, like Bobby said. Today, there's going to be a lot of single file racing. Maybe I got to race the racetrack. I don't want to use my stuff up racing somebody like Harvick or trying to worry about what's going on in my mirror. I got to concentrate on the racetrack.
First laps, Kevin Harvick has led at New Hampshire since he led 196 of 300 when he won here in 2006. Kevin Harvick leads Bobby Labonte at Loudon. Kevin Harvick continues to lead. Fans want more TNT coverage. The Coke Zero in-car camera on Race Buddy lets you vote for and ride shotgun with the Coca-Cola Racing family of drivers. Check out the Coke Zero in-car camera on NASCAR.com's Race Buddy and cast your vote now. On board there with Denny Hamlin looking forward at Matt Kenseth, and there's your race leader, Kevin Harvick, by about a second and a half over Bobby Labonte.
And that was a good shot when we came back there with Hamlin. You saw the 9 car go in and run up on the 17, get on the brakes a little bit, and shoot up the racetrack, and the 11 cuts left and goes up under him.
And that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. We talked about it this morning, Kyle, is brakes. This place, especially if it gets warm, it could be a killer on your front brakes. And you were talking to some guys who are having some trouble getting in and trying to get it dialed in right. Because I'll tell you what, if you're not handling here, you'll use more brake. And it just seems like you're on the brakes longer. If you're handling good, you're on the brakes, you're off the brakes, and you let the car roll. But if you're not, you can kill them.
You can kill. And we talked about it last week. You know, we talked about it last week at Sonoma. Those guys kept constantly dialing their brakes. They didn't know. And I think that's one thing that a lot of these drivers are struggling with, and I know I struggle with this car, is finding that brake balance. You see, that's brake smoke right there. Some of it is. But you see, you find that balance because these cars don't have the downforce the other cars did. So it doesn't set down on the front end the way the other car did. And it doesn't rotate to the rear springs the way the other car did.
Matt Kenseth has lost a couple of positions. There's Reed Sorensen in one of those Ganassi Dodges in the 41, the target ride.
Scott Riggs right there on the outside in the 66 car.
Martin Truex Jr. in the 1.
Martin's car looks good. The one car, I mean, remember a couple years ago up here, he just found a groove and just kind of drove away. And his car looks that way, and so does the 88. Earnhardt Jr. has looked really good from the very beginning here.
Ralph?
Bill, when it comes to the setup on the number 1, I spoke to crew chief Kevin Bono-Mannion this morning, and he was really scratching his head. They threw a pretty radical setup at the car this morning because they just could not get any feeling in the right rear. And I asked him if that's something they've been chasing all weekend. He goes, no, all year. He goes, I've literally been trying to get feeling in that right rear since California.
Thanks, Ralph. Truex closing in on Sorensen. This is for 5th.
And I know you're going to get tired of hearing us say it, but you saw how his car rotated in the middle of the corner when Reed just hesitated for a minute right in the middle of the corner, and you saw the one car roll in there and rotate, and he's maybe running 3 miles an hour faster right in the middle of the corner. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but that transfers up off the corner and down the straightaway as you see the 1 drive away from the 41.
Mr. McReynolds?
Well, Bill, when you look at that one car, when they unloaded Martin Truex Jr.'s car on Friday, they were absolutely junk. I talked to Kevin Mannion, his crew chief, this morning. He said, Larry, I'm not sure that I have ever changed it so much at one racetrack in 2 days as we have here. Now, one thing he was concerned about, and I've been watching it, we're 21 laps into this run right here as he just cracked the top 5. We are seeing sunlight on the racetrack for the first time, and he said that they always fight tight here and they're fighting loose. So I know everyone was questioning how much is this sunlight going to affect the handling of these cars.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the move to 2nd place. And while we watch these guys up front, Jimmy Johnson has gone from 23rd to 16th, Kurt Busch from 26th to 17th, Tony Stewart from 28th to 18th, and Jeff Burton from 31st to 19th. So a lot of those fast guys that didn't have good qualifying laps are beginning to march through the field in the early laps here at New Hampshire. Kevin Harvick leads. This is NASCAR on TNT. Kevin Harvick continues to lead. Jeff Burton has gone from 31st to 19th. Time to work in our AT&T Race Talk poll question. Which driver has been the most impressive during the last 4 weeks other than Kyle Busch? Brian Vickers, Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, or Jimmy Johnson? Fans, you can text the word race to 191 on your AT&T wireless phone, and we'll check out the results a little later in the race. Looking ahead at Jeff Gordon and Kurt Busch right there.
Whoa, whoa. And that's one thing, when you're on the bottom and you drive the car in deep, the guy on the outside's got to be aware of that. And you see Jeff Gordon moved up a little bit because the guy on the inside, if he drives in deep, he's going to slide up the racetrack into you. So you always have to be aware of that car on your inside. And if you think he drove in, you better give him a little room or you're going to knock into each other.
Jeff Burton has 4 wins here, settles back in line behind Kurt Busch. Now the Roush cars are not having a real great run here so far. Greg Biffle has dropped back to the 23rd position, now back to 24th. And this is earlier in the race for him. in that 16
wow, he's
car.
loose already right there. You can see his front wheels were turned way early in the corner.
And then, just a couple of laps ago,
well, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I'll say that car's loose, Matt.
Matt Yoakum.
He's fighting a grip issue all the way around. And when you talk to Greg Irwin, he told me the first half of final practice he wouldn't have given a nickel for their chances to even stay on the lead lap today. But the second half of final practice, they really dialed in the car, though. Right now, he's just lacking an overall grip issue. He's fighting it. It's too tight through the center of the corner. And as you notice, Wally, he has a little bit of a free on-exit condition he's battling as well.
We can update some of the other Roush cars. Jamie McMurray has gone from 13th back to 21st. And Carl Edwards started 17th, currently scored in the 25th position. David Reagan started 35th. He's running in the 31st spot. The highest Ford is Matt Kenseth in 13th. This is 6th. A.J. Allmendinger.
AJ's been running good laps. I've been watching his times last 8 or 9 laps. He's hanging right in there. Of course, then he's been a little bit quicker. Probably one of the fastest cars on the track, I think, is Dale Earnhardt in the 88 car. But so far, AJ Lindsay is running pretty well.
Well, he is running pretty well. You know, his crew chief got on there and said, "You're looking good, buddy, especially in turn 4." But AJ's saying that right now he is tight in the center, and he says, "I've got to get off the throttle a little bit." When I talked to him before this race, he said, "Man, I have no idea what we're going to get from this car." He wasn't too happy before the start, but a little bit more pleased now, Wally.
I saw his spotter, Tim Fedua, before the race. They said they had a good Friday, but really did struggle here on Saturday. You're watching that smoke, aren't you? Is that what you were shaking your head about?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's brake smoke, he's in trouble, but I don't think it is.
No, I think it is.
Is it?
I swear, if you watch it, it's like whatever he's doing coming in one, it's a funny looking smoke. And if you'll see it, look at his front wheels, how dusted they are right there. See how that left rear shines a little bit, and that left front has a real flat black look to it. But you watch him, I swear I think it's brake smoke off the right front. He's hammering this thing to come at it.
Stay on board here with Denny to see if we can see it. Nothing that time.
No, but it does it whenever he's trying to pass somebody when he uses them hard. It's both times I've noticed it is then.
Lindsay?
Nothing from Denny on the radio about smoke at all, but he's talking about how quickly he's been able to get up to 7th. He said it took about 15 laps for him to come in, but now, as you guys can see too, he feels like he's flying just a little bit tight, as most of the guys down here in the pits I'm covering are saying that they are.
Started 12th, Hamlin did. .36 laps complete. Kevin Harvick starting to lap people. Just 36 in at New Hampshire. TNT Sports back at New Hampshire. This is for the lead. Kevin Harvick has it. Dale Earnhardt Jr. coming.
Yeah, Earnhardt was about 2.5 or almost 2.8 seconds back about 10 laps ago, 15 laps ago, and he has been the quickest car on the racetrack.
Gilliland and McDowell have been knocked off the lead lap.
And really, it's a good opportunity to pass leaders when you do get in traffic, because the leader's got to make all the right moves. If he doesn't, that's going to open up the door for Junior.
Yeah, and we talk so much about clean air. There is no such thing as clean air right now on the racetrack. You see the 29 car tucked up under the 70. He's got no clean air. If you're watching these cars at home, as you see the 88 go to the inside, he's got position on him right here. Now let's see what the 29 does.
Yeah, you got it boxed in if you can stay there, and that's just the thing. 29 decided, I'm going to stay right behind.
He didn't give him anything.
He sure didn't, but he rolled through the center a little bit better and take this spot away.
This is like basketball. If you're a basketball fan, the 88 is trying to use the 70 for a pick and roll. He's going to pick him on the 70 and roll right past him if he can get him in the right box.
Earnhardt got the 5 bonus points. We'll keep an eye on this, and we're so happy to see the sun out, and so are the fans. But Matt, that may not be the situation for race teams.
And Bill, when you go throughout the progression of the week and how we've had no sunshine and much cooler temperatures, a lot of teams are expecting more grip. That's why teams, at least in my section, are more fighting loose than they are tight. Dale Jr. trying to overtake that position again. He, if anything, is a little free on exit, but Junior's car has been so consistent. Tony Jr. told me throughout the course of the weekend, lap 5 to lap 40 over a run, they were within a tenth. They're pleased. He's in the lead. Marty?
Kevin Harvick just overtaken by Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the lead. Harvick behind him started very tight on this run. Usually, we talked about that in the pre-race. The sun coming out, usually when that happens, the racetrack will get looser. So my question to Larry Mack is, I'm a little surprised some of these guys were saying they're tight. Is it a tight condition or a more overall no grip condition, Larry Mack, you think?
Well, Marty, for years, the racing philosophy was when the racetrack was cool and maybe it was cloudy, that the car would be tight, the front end would want to turn. And then when the sun would come out and the track would lose grip, like in the heat of the day, you would get loose. But I think with this radial tire, for the most part, the fact is if the track has grip and your front end is pushing and the sun comes out, your front end will just push more. It's like whatever end is not gripping when the track is cool, when it heats up, you just lose more grip in that end that's already not gripping the racetrack.
Sounds like they have their hands full.
Yeah, they do. And for all the fans out in California, that roar you just heard was when Junior took the lead, okay? Because I'm sure you could hear it in California. We hear it in the booth.
12th race he's led in 2008. Earnhardt Jr. led the most laps in this race last year, 64 of 300, but finished 4th.
If you're sitting at home, one thing I like about this racetrack is the white marks on the racetrack through the corner. And what I mean by that, if you're sitting at home watching this thing at TV, some of the shots we have, you can see how true an arc the 88 rolls. Just look at the marks and how he hits every mark in line with each other. So he makes a true turn through the corner. And that's where he's making his time. He is really getting into turn 3 and through the center of turn 3 and 4 really good, but he's on the same lane in the same place. You see some of these guys go in and they're on the bottom mark and then they end up straddling the top mark and they're struggling a little bit.
Go ahead.
Just say another car that hitting their marks right now is that Bass Pro Shop car, Truex. He's going to be up front here before you know it. He's another that looks like the 88, and it's just getting through the center and making time.
And you did get a look at Tony Stewart from 28th to 14th behind Franchitti in 13th, and Jeff Gordon just took 12th. Earnhardt Jr. leads Harvick, Bobby Labonte, Truex, and Hamlin at New Hampshire. The Lenox Industrial Tools 301 here at New Hampshire on TNT. Dale Earnhardt Jr. started 5th. He leads by 1.2 seconds over Kevin Harvick, Bobby Labonte, Martin Truex Jr., and Denny Hamlin, the top 5. A lot of racing going on. Dario Franchitti in that Guitar Hero Target Dodge for Chip Ganassi has been involved in some of it. Now this was just a few laps ago. This is on board with Tony Stewart.
And you can see Tony Stewart's just rolling into the corner better. Just gives a couple of taps, no harm, no foul, just to let Franchitti know, hey, I'm here, and you better roll through the corner a little bit better.
That's
next
like
time.
That's knock knock. You know, who is that? That's Tony Stewart. That's who it is.
And I'm coming through.
And here's the one car that we talked about earlier, Martin Truex. He has been picked up where he left off a couple of years ago, but you know, and Bobby's done a great job in that 43, hanging in the top 4 or 5. But Truex is coming too.
Truex won the nationwide race here in 2005. Has a couple of wins here in the Camping World East Series as well. So Denny Hamlin in that 11 car. He's in the 5th spot. Jeff Burton has picked up 16 positions. Tony Stewart 15. Jimmy Johnson 12. Brian Vickers 11. There's Jimmy Johnson. Larry, you watching the 48?
Well, I've been watching the 48, but I've been watching the scoring monitor. And as you mentioned, Bill, he's moved up to the 11th spot after starting 23rd. You go back to Friday. We were talking about the qualifying session. He was one of the guys that fell victim to going out early. He had by far the fastest car in practice, but he went out early, ended up qualifying 23rd. But you're talking about a full court press for this race. Obviously, Loudon was not one of the racetracks that NASCAR allowed the teams to come test at. But Marty, Chad Knaus and his 48 group, they went to Milwaukee not once but twice preparing for this race. Marty?
That's right, Larry Mack. In fact, they were in Milwaukee on Wednesday testing with this very race car, preparing especially for qualifying. That's why they were so disappointed with where they were qualifying, where they qualified, just based on how the weather worked out. It didn't work out very well for them. But a lot of teams expected to come to the front, like Jimmy Johnson's and Tony Stewart's. We talked about how those guys have come to the front. But what they expected was to get to the top 10 where they are now and run into some better cars. So I think the progress from 10th to 5th, Kyle and Wally, is going to be much harder than it was from 23rd to 11th for Jimmy Johnson.
The closer you get to the front, the harder it is to keep going.
That's why those guys are in the front. They're running faster.
Another thing is, when these races go green like this, you always got a guy that's hooked up like Earnhardt. They start putting cars a lap down really quick.
Yeah, when you start in the back of a pack, and look, I can say this speaking from great numbers of years of experience. Okay, you hate to see the first section be a long section because, like you say, those guys come quick because they are on clean track then.
You know why he said that?
Because we were going to.
Exactly right. 66 laps are complete here at New Hampshire. We have been green since we dropped the green flag. Caution free to this point. A handful of cars have been on and off of pit road. Right now, Bobby Labonte's in. Marty.
Well, Bill, Bobby's been able to keep this car up in the top 5 for Petty Enterprises, but they are going to make some big adjustments because the car is extremely tight for Bobby. He said it just feels like I have absolutely no grip out there. A pound in the left front tire, pound in the right rear tire, and 4 tires for Bobby Labonte. Ralph?
Well, the 19 is in. He's taking on 4 tires as well for Adelaide Sadler. They complete their stop, make some adjustments, and send him back.
4,600 all the way down.
He heads off of pit road. Dario Franchitti heads down pit road. While we were away, Casey Kane came down pit road. Just want to show you the very beginning of this. Watch for the brake dust.
Oh, man. It's blown out when they got the gun to the wheel. Now, I'd be curious to see how his car's handling, but to see that kind of brake dust, I would think it's probably not very well.
Kevin Harvick heads down pit road. Marty?
Woo! Kevin Harvick hits pit road. He kept the lead for much of that run. He said his car is just a little too tight for him. They put a round of wedge in the left rear trying to get it a little bit better for Harvick. It got a little too loose at the end of the run, so that's what they're trying to fix with the wedge. Ralph?
The 17 is in as well, and he's been fighting the handling on this car. He felt like it went completely away. They're struggling on the left side of this car, but he's away, Matt.
The championship point leader, Ralph, had only made it up to 20th before hitting pit road on this cycle. A significant chassis adjustment. He had big-time issues of being too free on exit, but the car was way too tight in the center of the corner. Also adjusted with some air pressure as well. Ralph.
The one car, Martin Truex, Matt, is probably the one car who guessed radical this morning and actually hit on something. He was very happy with the balance of his car. So Marty Steiner, they just made a very small air pressure adjustment and got him back underway with 4 fresh tires.
Tony Stewart was very specific with Greg Zipadelli. He said, I need to beat it better in the first third of the corner. I'm getting beat under braking. That's where everybody's beating me on entry. A wedge adjustment trying to make the car better, Matt.
Already the biggest issue for Greg Biffle, who's already completed his service way too tight. They made a wedge adjustment and air pressure adjustment. They were hoping for a caution to also adjust with a spring rubber. Meanwhile, former New Hampshire winner Jeff Gordon is in. Steve Letarte calling for an air pressure change on the left to try to help this 24 car roll better through the center of the corner, Marty.
Matt, Jimmy Johnson rolling down pit road. He's hit his car way too loose. He's using too much in the middle of the corner to get the car to turn. 3 cranks down on the track bar, trying to tighten him up just a little bit. Kurt Busch said his car is way too tight. Coming down pit road, they've been struggling with that car. He also told Pat Trice and Pat, we're getting beat pretty bad down the straightaway. We need to check that out when we get back to the shop this weekend. He said it's way too tight. What they're going to do is a pound out of the left rear and a pound out of the right rear as well. Matt?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. pulls to a stop, giving up the lead. Jr. trying for his first Sprint Cup victory here at New Hampshire. Tony Eury Jr. looking over the stop, high atop the box. No chassis adjustment for Jr. His car pretty stout over that run. Luck's on, and he is away.
Looks like that stop
second gear.
is just a little slower than they might have hoped. All this happening under green. 72 laps are complete. We've been caution-free since we started. And keep this in mind, Earnhardt Jr. and Brian Vickers, 73 laps for Earnhardt Jr., 72 laps for Vickers. A lot of the other guys pitted starting around lap 65 and up through 68 and 69.
And one thing that I noticed, Kyle, is the guys that are running good didn't have a bunch of brake dust coming out. You know, Earnhardt's car looked really good. Harvick's car looked pretty good. Truex Jr.'s car looked good. You know, they pulled them wheels off. There was some dust, but not anything like some of the other guys.
And I think two things attribute to that. One was that their cars are rolling in so free. They're getting in, then they're jumping off. And the other thing is they started close enough to the front, they didn't have to pass a lot of cars. The cars they passed all but pulled over and let them go so they wouldn't lose a lot of time.
Kevin Harvick pitted on lap 68, got a good stop, and now is the race leader over Casey Kane, Truex Jr., Earnhardt Jr., and Denny Hamlin. NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing from New Hampshire on TNT is brought to you by Coors Light. It's the coolest thing in the hottest sport. The Coors Light pole position alerts on your phone. Just text RACE to 42100 to sign up. By DirecTV, get over 90 of the best channels in HD now. By Allstate, are you in good hands? And by Subway Restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. Fourth race this year, Kevin Harvick has led, also led at California, Bristol, and Talladega. He is the race leader. You see Casey Kane in that 9 car in second. He was 6th before the stop and is currently second.
Yeah, I want to explain that to people at home. When we talk about brake balance, here's a great example on the 29 car when he came in the pits. If you want to know, just watch a pit stop and you'll know how their balance is. Watch the rear wheels lock up when he hits the brake to stop. His balance is to the rear. And how you change that, there's a little dial in the car, and you can change whether you get your fronts to lock up or your rear to lock up. And Larry, you can show us that, right?
Yeah, I can. You know, if you look at your passenger car, you have one master cylinder on that car that controls the brake on all 4 wheels. But on a Sprint Cup Series car, there are 2 master cylinders. One that controls the brakes on the 2 front wheels, one that controls the brake on the 2 rear wheels. And what that driver can do, there's no cockpit adjusting for anything like track bar wedge, but you do have the luxury of adjusting the balance on the brake that Wally was talking about. It's a knob right here that the driver can reach, and if his car is pushing, getting in the corner, that means it has a little too much front brake. He can reach in here and maybe screw around a brake to the rear. If the car is loose getting in, he can reach in here and screw around a brake to the front, and that can change the balance of the car. And a lot of times, the fact that over the course of a run, especially once you burn some fuel off and you gain nose weight, that's when you'll maybe reach in there and start screwing a little rear brake. But all the brake dust we've been seeing, what it is basically, these carbon metallic pads, as they get against the rotor, if you see right there, that's the dust that's causing, and that's what you see in these wheels after a pit stop.
Larry, that's very nice.
Well, you're welcome.
Can I ask you one question?
Absolutely.
Did that pointer used to retrieve golf balls?
Yeah, as you can see, I pretty much have worn it out.
Yeah, I think
that is a high-tech pointer. I was going to point that out.
I thought that was his cane for his magic tricks.
I was not sure what that was. I want to go back to something that we were talking on there.
Okay, you can do that in 1 second.
Okay, sorry.
Larry's Test Car is brought to you by the Bill Engvall Show on TBS. New episodes Thursdays this summer.
Thank you for that.
Okay,
now here's what and that was great. Wally caught the lockup on the 29 car. But we'll go back to after the pit stops. Before the pit stops, Earnhardt was in front. You had the 29, and Casey was 6th or whatever.
6th, correct.
Okay, but you got to go back to the laps they pitted on. Casey pitted so early. He pitted at lap 62. He was out there for another 10 laps. Our junior was out there with 10-lap old tires where Casey was making up time on new tires. So the pit stop and how they pitted, not necessarily what went on pit road, but when they pitted dictated that rotation in the top 3 or 4. I think once they get back on equal tires, Earnhardt has been the dominant car. He's the faster car. He was a couple of seconds ahead. After the pit stops, he's been as much as 3 or 4 seconds behind, but he's caught back up.
Dario Franchitti is around for his caution of the race.
But that's a good point, Kyle, because when you're out there on old tires, you're just hanging on. And if a guy has 10 laps on better tires, he's going to close that gap really quick. He may have gotten some help on this one.
David Rudiman in the 44.
But and that's a hard call, because I'm going to tell you, David's got the 5 car on the outside of him. David's turning left and going back down the racetrack, and you can see, look at the lines. You see Franchitti almost come back down a little bit, and they were just both in the same place at the same time.
Joe Nemechek will be the lucky dog. He'll come around and be the 32nd car on the lead lap.
I'm going to say that's a little bit of both right there. Because you're right, the 40 car was coming down, but the 44 car looked like it jumped up the track just a little bit, whether it was because the car pushed or whatever. It did launch to the right a little bit.
Go ahead and do the left first. That way we can get this stuff off of it.
Pit road open this time. It's going to be a very busy place. Ralph, you're first.
Well, and this goes right with what Kyle was talking about, how Casey was going to run out of tires, but this caution now helps him get some fresh tires, and they're going to go with just 2 tires on the right side of this car. He's having some problem with the front end bouncing on this car. They're going to try to dial that in too, Matt.
Just over 10 laps on the left side tires, so they're only going to take right side tires for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's already away. He said Marty's car is snugged up in the center.
Matt, Kevin Harvick's on the top of your screen, already left pit road, 2 tires. He said, I could stand to be freed up just a little bit, ½ pound in the right rear tire, Bill.
Thanks, guys. This is where it's going to get very interesting. See how the tire strategy plays out. A lot of traffic down there on pit road. First caution of the day at New Hampshire. Coming to a restart, this fresh start is brought to you by Subway Restaurant. Subway, eat fresh. This is going to be a mess. The 5 and the 83 did not pit. Casey Mears and Brian Vickers. Most of the teams took 2 tires.
3 abreast doesn't work very well here normally. Oh, they got down to 2 real quick. Oh, 15's loose. Bernard gets a little bit sideways.
Everyone on the racetrack except Casey Mears and Brian Vickers visited pit road.
Whoa, Mears slides up the racetrack.
Here comes Vickers for the lead. Not going to get it. Was announced here on Friday that Casey Mears will not be back at Hendrick Motorsports next season. He's a guy looking for a job.
Makes 3 of us, right, Kyle?
That's exactly right. I've already called Rick.
On board with Tony Stewart.
And you can lose, I was going to say, you're going to lose your patience because you can lose a lot of track time right now. Guys like Stewart got good race cars. They're on tires. They can't mess around with the lap traffic too long, because if they do, the guys that are in clean air in front of them are just going to check out.
Yeah.
Marty on Tony Stewart.
Well, Bill, when I talked to Greg Zipadelli this morning, I would say about 7:45, 8 o'clock, when we were walking in the garage area, he was already thinking about this move, trying to get that track position to get Tony up front. The car hasn't been that bad. They've got it handling better. Junior a little loose, though, Bill.
He got a little loose because I think he got a little touch.
Hey, Marty.
Yes, Weber.
What did the 20 do on their stop?
They took no tires, fuel only. That's what I was getting to, but the action was a little hot and heavy back there, Weber. That's time for you to talk.
Thank you, sir.
The one thing that's interesting on the 88 car, if we go back to the very beginning of the race, the 41 car passed him right off the bat, a couple of other cars, and as soon as his air pressure came up, he went straight back to the front. Remember, these guys have right side tires that are down on air pressure that took 2, left side tires that are up on air pressure. So this is the worst balance from tire pressure from left to right that you're ever going to have on a race car on a restart.
And you're in traffic.
And you're in traffic too, trying to drive.
You're just trying to hold your line.
And are you burning up your brakes like Larry was showing us?
Yeah, we're definitely burning them up.
Jeff Gordon, that 24, Jimmy Johnson right behind him, the 48.
And this is when you're using your brakes really hard. And Kyle said it earlier. When you're racing, guys, and you're trying to make position, you're trying to go in that 1 car length deeper than the next guy and hoping that you'll roll through the center and make the spot. So they're abusing these brakes right now.
And they're weaving in and out of lap traffic. The 8 car here of Eric Amarola, he started almost dead last. He picked up 10 or 15 positions early on, but he was just so far back he couldn't help but get lapped. right in front of him, you got the 15 car. You got a couple of guys. These guys are trying to weave their way through, so they're really using their equipment hard. And at the same time this is going on, up at the front of the pack, you got Mears and Vickers who are on old tires, but they're in clean racetrack, and they can kind of almost maintain their own or check out a little bit.
Amarola took 2 tires on his stop in that 8 car.
Yeah, between the leader and Hamlin right now is almost 5 seconds. And a lot of that has to do with these guys racing side by side, not being able to get anywhere.
Earnhardt Jr. was 6th on lap 92. Right now we're working lap 96 and he's 10th, so he's lost 4 spots. Picking up 1 there from Truex.
And I think if you're going to have your car work, especially here at New Hampshire, you want it to work on the end of your run.
Yeah.
That's when you want to be back in a long time.
Yeah, everybody, when everybody's on equal tires, everybody's trying to run in the same place on the racetrack. If your car works at the end of the run and you can control which direction it goes in and turn left and turn right and pick up the gas, then when those guys start to slip and slide, you'll be able to cut around them on the outside, under them on the inside, no matter what. The tires are the great equalizer in this sport in a lot of ways.
We saw Casey Kane there. He's running back in the 11th position in the 9 car. Hamlin is 6th. Gordon's right behind him. Jimmy Johnson is there. Menard in the 15 is a lap down. You see Casey Kane trying to get inside of the 8 and follow Junior.
It looks easy. I mean, it looks like you can just, well, I don't understand why it doesn't just drive down underneath it and pass it. I mean, you got your hands full. These cars are on the verge of spinning out every single lap, every corner.
This is for 2nd. Remember the 83 of Brian Vickers, that Red Bull Toyota, he did not pit.
And let's go back to the air pressure issue. Once again, the 83 and the 5 stayed out. Now, they had just pitted, so they probably got 8 or 10 laps on their tires no matter what, because you had the caution in the early 80s there.
Right.
But when you look at it, then their tires were already up the pressure. Once again, you got the 29 car there with good right side tires, but that are down. Once his tire pressure came up, then he's run the 88 or the 83 down. At the same time, the 5 car has really been impressive. Casey's been impressive in the 5 just to drive away a little bit.
Marty?
Well, I think for Kevin Hamlin and the Red Bull team, it was really a no-brainer, right, guys? They started in 40th today. Vickers has not had the best of cars this weekend, so why not go for the track position? And remember, they stretched the fuel a little bit longer than everybody else, so fuel-wise, they're in the ballpark. 17 laps extra, by the way, guys, on those tires for Vickers.
Sneak in our Toyota driver update here. There you see Vickers. Officially started 38th here this afternoon. And by not pitting, as Marty pointed out, holding on to the 3rd spot. Vickers has a top 15 finish in the last 4 races. He was 13th at Dover, 2nd at Pocono, 4th at Michigan, and 14th out in Sonoma. Look at that, Casey Mears looking for a ride as the lead. Casey Mears leads Kevin Harvick by 2.1 seconds. Then it's Vickers, Stewart, and Boyer. Here's the answer to our AT&T poll question. Brian Vickers getting the nod. Vickers in the 3rd spot right now for the moment. Tony Stewart. Marty said a fuel only for Stewart, right?
Yes. And they really weren't on that.
Yeah.
They didn't have many laps on the tires. That was probably a pretty good call, especially if the car's handling.
Yeah, and obviously his car was pretty well balanced because we had watched him drive up through the pack to drop back to about 15th or so and then drive up to the top 5 before the caution.
Another guy on the move is right there. The guy that won the race here in September of last year, Clint Boyer in that 07.
I don't think he really won that race. I think he just annihilated the field. You know what I mean? That's not winning. That's just killing him. He was incredible here, Boyer was.
Lindsay
It's funny that Kyle says that. I was talking to his crew chief, Gil Martin, yesterday, and he said basically we're going to do what we did last time, and then when we win the race, we're going to put the car away again. We'll get it back out for Richmond and then bring it back here next year. They're so confident in this machine they have, but you guys have seen he's weaved his way from 18 up to the 5th position. Clint was talking about his car being a little bit tight, but right now they pretty much got it where they wanted. They get down on that stop and gave him 2 right sides and fuel also, guys.
Thank you, Lindsay. Keep an eye on him throughout the afternoon. 1/3 of the race complete. So he took 2 tires. There's the 18 on board with Kyle Busch. That Interstate Batteries Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing.
And these guys in the 15, Menard's been running really hard. He's trying to, obviously, he's not, I don't think he's the first car a lap down. I think there's a couple ahead of him. But
corner outside.
You're correct, there are.
You see these other guys in front of them and racing with them right now. You know, they're trying to race, but Menard's running fast enough where, you know, he can't just pull over for him.
About the 18, Matt.
Bill, he only made up about 7 spots when he made his first pit stop. Steve Addington told Larry Mack and myself this morning, look for me to pull some strategy on pit road to try to gain some track position. That's what he did. No tires on the last stop, and this is what Kyle's saying about his race car on the track.
Looser entry to center. It's not on the bump stops right. A little bit looser off as well. I mean, I see it. It's better for something, but I'm not sure what yet. I can't go. All right, now give me some drive off. I'm better through the center to where I got too much speed on the exit. Just bust the rear tires loose.
Combo platter of issues for Busch in the 18. He just came on the radio just a few seconds ago and added, by the way, I'm almost stuck part throttle because I have to wait on it so long for this race car to rotate. They're already looking ahead to their next stop. Remember, they didn't take tires on this last stop.
Thanks, Matt. That was at lap 87 when Kyle came in, fuel only. 114 laps are complete now, working 1:15:03:01. There's Casey Mears. When the rest of the field pitted, he stayed out. He leads Harvick by 2.1 seconds. Then it's Stewart, Vickers, and Boyer, the top 5 at New Hampshire. Are you ready to watch and listen in to your favorite driver all race long? Check out Track Pass Race View yourself. Log on to NASCAR.com/raceview right now and start your free trial. Casey Mears had led only 1 lap this season before today, and 29 since his win at Lowe's last May. So far, 34 here this afternoon in New Hampshire after he stayed out when just about everybody else except Brian Vickers pitted on lap 87. Here's a race buddy. Got a question from Don in West Virginia. Wants to know, who do you think will replace Casey Mears in the 5 car next season, Wally?
Could be Kyle or I.
Let me just go ahead and say, when this
When
question,
did you call Hendrick?
When I called him, I just texted him just a minute ago. I just texted him again just a minute ago. And that's a hard question. I think that's a hard question. And obviously, that organization has somebody in mind. You don't let a guy go and make a change with a caliber driver that Casey Mears is without having somebody in mind. But I think a lot of people are still speculating on what Tony Stewart's going to do, and we could stand here all day long and speculate on what Tony Stewart's going to do.
Wait a minute, Rick is texting me right now.
No. Rick can't be texting you.
I can't tell you.
You know, when Tony had his little media gathering here and hinted, well, the 5 car's open, I wouldn't, you know, I might consider.
How about that team? Think about that team.
Oh, man. I didn't think about that. Very good. Marty?
Yeah, that only throws more confusion into the mix, right? Because Tony said in that little media gathering you're talking about, who wouldn't consider the 5 car? Wally, I don't think you're in consideration, though. I'm sorry to tell you, buddy. But I talked to Casey about this morning, about the job openings. He told me he was pleasantly surprised about the amount of time his phone has rang over the last couple of days. See people saying, hey, I might be interested in you driving my car. So I'm pretty positive Casey Mears will be around for a long while here in the Sprint Cup Series. And let me tell you about a few things that maybe played into the decision to leave him out on the racetrack by Alan Gustafson. On that first run, Casey's quote, car is nearly perfect. They only made a half-pound adjustment on that first pit stop. They'll have to pit about lap 150, but I think this was a very good call to gain that track position when you start in the back. Now they're up with the leaders, and they can pit in sequence with them.
Yeah, and I don't think Casey should be surprised that people call him. He's a talented race car driver. He's a young race car driver. He's got a lot of experience.
Heavy traffic here. Do I have to work them?
At a lot of these places as you hear him talk to him. But at the same time, you know, we keep talking about how many drivers are looking for rides. You got to go back and look at the owners that may be looking for drivers. Penske may be looking for somebody if Ryan leaves. You look at Gibbs, maybe looking for somebody if Tony leads. So these guys are obviously going to call and touch base with a guy the caliber of Casey Mears and say, hey, don't do anything until you talk to me, and let's talk at some point in time when I see where I'm going to be.
He's in a better situation now because there is movement. There's been years where there isn't any movement.
Yeah.
Everybody's, you know, tied in for 3 years or 4 years.
Yeah, when the music stops and there's no chair to set in, that's a bad time.
Yeah.
Right now, the music's not stopped and there's plenty of chairs out there.
So, Don, I hope they answered that for you.
What's the question?
So Casey Mears leads, started 24th. Another guy on the move, Clint Boyer, started 18th, runs in the 6th spot. It's Chevy, Toyota, then Chevy. Larry.
Well, Bill, you know, Lindsay was talking about Clint Boyer and Gil Martin, that they brought that very same race car that they led over 200 laps, sat on the pole, won the race back in September. But the one thing they were nervous about is the change in the Goodyear race tire that they brought here in 2008. What Goodyear did on the left side, they changed the construction of the tire, of the sidewall. It's to give the driver a little more feel of the left side tires. They also toughened the compound up for tire wear. So that was the one variable that those guys knew here. But I want to say this, guys, you know, back at Pocono, y'all were a little concerned. I didn't have enough tricks in my bag, so I dug Mo's circus trunk out. I've been working on some things. You see my hat, nothing in the hat, nothing on the outside. Say the magic words, Wally Dallenbach, and you know what comes out of the hat? You pull a rabbit out of the hat.
Very nice. Very nice.
Nice job. I can't have a live rabbit. I travel too much. So there it is, boys. I've been working on it.
It's an excellent trick. Thank you, Larry.
You don't have a rabbit back in your motor, Coach?
No, I don't. That's Matt Yoakum.
that was really good. I was going to comment on the nice new pointer you had. You had already traded in the other pointer.
Yeah,
Magic
went out and bought
pointer.
a magic wand.
It's too bad he doesn't have any fun doing this.
I know.
There's a race leader in the 5 car, Casey Mears. About to knock Elliott Sadler off the lead lap.
And the pole setter right there in front of him. You know, we talked to, and Patrick was very realistic when he started the race. He said, you know, I just want to get out here, get some laps and run in the top 20. And I think that's what he's trying to do. But at the same time, you know, Casey didn't pit and put on tires. And we all commented, what's that going to do? Well, obviously it's not done anything because he's lapping people that I think put on 2 tires and did some stuff. So he's run a good race here. He's caught up with these guys.
Right now, it's Casey Mears up front. The highest running Ford right now is Matt Kenseth in 14th. Casey Mears is the race leader. He did not pit on lap 87. He stayed out and now has led 48 laps. But he's going to need fuel pretty soon. Tony Stewart has moved into the 2nd spot. Then it's Harvick, Vickers, and Jeff Gordon. Time to take you through the field. Casey Mears is the race leader, and this will be fun because Marty Snyder has the top 4 cars. Good luck, Snyder.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Weber. And you're right, they're going to have to pit very soon for Casey Mears. And in fact, in about 13 laps, around lap 150, Casey Mears will have to come to pit road on his radio. Nothing from the driver, only lap times to the driver. Tony Stewart's behind him on the racetrack in 2nd place. They say the car is a little bit tight from the center off. That's Tony's biggest issue. They made a track bar adjustment last time. They also working on those old tires, but they'll pit around lap 165. Behind him, Kevin Harvick in the 3rd position said the car is a little too tight for him. He says, guys, I thought we loosened it up last time. We need to go much further in that direction to get it better. Matt?
Jeff Gordon, Marty just climbed to the 4th position. His issue most of the race, just tight on initial throttle. That's where he needed the most help. He also needed a little cleaner air. When he got into fresh air, the car really came to life. 2 tires on the last stop, a little tug on the left front fender, and an air pressure adjustment, Marty.
Brian Vickers' word to describe his race car, plowing. Cannot get it turned right there in the middle of the corner. Says, I'm using way too much real estate here in the middle of the corner to get that car turned. He's lost a few spots. He'll probably lose a few more before he has to pit here in about 10 laps. Lindsay?
Marty, Clint Boyer, as you can see, loves the low line. That's what they were focusing on most in final practice. In fact, he's finished with about 20 minutes short because he said his car was so good. Right now, caution is out. Bill?
Debris on the track. boy, this is an unbelievable break for Mears and Brian Vickers in the 5th spot. Everybody else pitted on lap 87, but Mears pitted on 71 and Vickers on 72.
How's your car? Yeah, I wouldn't change much. I'm tight for about 5-6 laps, and then it comes in pretty good. I was loose there on the scuffs the whole time.
Patrick Carpentier, the Coors Light pole sitter, gets the lucky dog. He gets the free pass. He'll come around and he will be the 31st car on the lead lap. We'll see how that shakes out with the scoring. Pit road is open. If the 5 team has a good pit stop, that was outstanding strategery.
It was good. I mean, it worked out for those guys, and it was good where the caution came out, because if it wasn't, it was going to catch those guys out, and you give it another 8 or 10 laps.
Ralph.
Well, here comes Casey Kane. He said the car's been a little loose at the early stages of the run. He asked to have it tightened up a little bit. They're going to make a wedge adjustment about half a round, Matt.
Jeff Gordon, 2 tires in the last lap. His biggest issue, he says the car is loose under braking, but then it's too tight in the center of the corner. Letarte will adjust with air pressure. Marty.
Leader Casey Mears a little further up pit road, and a quick stop for the Kellogg's guys. 4 tires. You heard the conversation. Casey said, I wouldn't touch anything. I'm tight for just a little bit, but then the car really comes in and it's good at the end of the run. Lindsay?
And Clint Boyer was just down and away. They gave him 4 tires, air in the right rear. They said time to go back to the original air pressure, Bill.
Thanks, Lindsay. You saw the race off of pit road. The 20 of Tony Stewart and the 5 of Casey Mears. What do you think?
Tony Stewart.
We'll see. Tony Stewart is the race leader. Green flag back in the air at New Hampshire. Jeff Burton in the 7th spot in that 31 car, 2 tires on his pit stop. 3 wide. .31 cars on the lead lap. Harvick runs in 3rd, then Jeff Gordon in the 24. A 22 car of Blaney is not a lead lap car. In fact, he's 2 laps down. Another good stop by that Home Depot team. Getting Tony off of pit road first. Gordon trying to sneak inside of Harvick for 3rd. Rapidly approaching the halfway mark.
Yeah, I mean, Gordon's car looks like it's really, really good, especially on the first part of the run. His car looks like it's one of the fastest ones out there.
And you know, when the race started, I didn't really think he was that good. You know, he got into somebody, had that left front tire rub. We showed it a little bit. They pulled that out, and he has been really good and kind of come up through here the last couple of runs. That's the way he was at Sonoma also, though, or at Infineon. You know, it's like, I didn't think he had anything for him. He didn't think he had anything for him. Next thing you know, he's got a top 5 or top 10 car at the end of the race.
Exactly right.
But those guys seem like they're one of the best out here, Kyle, as far as making those adjustments during the race and hitting it.
And that's, you're exactly right. And because that's the thing. You hear these people complain about, we run on the bump stops. We have very few adjustments we can make. I think the Hendricks organization, they talk about how everybody caught up to them last year from where they were last year. I think people have caught up to them a little bit, but I still think they're ahead of a lot of people on being able to make adjustments. The 24 and the 48 have been really good at making adjustments and getting better as the races go.
Moments that changed the game, brought to you by Viagra, September 14th, 2003, here at New Hampshire. A late wreck by Dale Jarrett, stuck in the middle of the track, and watch the guys trying to race back to the caution. This is one of the incidents that led NASCAR to freezing the field and no more racing back to the caution. For more moments that changed the game, log on to NASCAR.com/moments. That's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th behind Tony Stewart. There's Tony. Working lap 150 of 301. Now we want to go back and look at something that happened. See if Gordon's going to try and make his move for second here. This is the pit stop of Kyle Busch. Watch him back up and run over the air hose. Now that's a NASCAR discretion penalty because he did not completely run over the hose. No penalty was assessed to the 18 team.
Yeah, and the old and when that rule was put into and when it was implemented long many years ago, running over the air hose, it's because of where the nitrogen bottles were and the way the hoses were. You could absolutely all but drag a nitrogen bottle down pit road behind a race car because of the way the pit crews were. So it was a safety rule that they come up with. Under this condition, very rarely do they ever call anything, as we see the 24 under the 5, ever call anything when you back over one like that.
This is for second. Tony Stewart is the race leader. He's crossed the start-finish line. We are halfway. Joe Nemechek has spun, and the caution is out.
Inside on the lead lap. Yeah.
Nemechek, the last car currently scored on the lead lap. Okay.
Yeah.
Now what?
Barely got the left rear.
This is where the crew chief earns his money.
This would be a strategy call here on whether to come in, whether to go out. What are you going to do?
I think I'm going to come in.
The 8 of Eric Amarola gets the free pass. He's the lucky dog.
And you got to give a tip of the hat to the 8 because he put a power move on the 19 car on that restart.
He did. He went down to the bottom. I saw that.
He put a power move on that 19 car to get in position to take. So Eric did a good job there.
Hey, guys, it may be a little early to start thinking this way, but remember, this is a 301-lap race. We're at lap 152. Remember, Bill said the fuel window is 70 to 75 laps. You pit here for fuel, it makes it a one-stop race from here.
Tony Stewart just became the 13th driver in Cup Series history to lead 10,000 plus laps under caution at New Hampshire. TNT in New Hampshire for the Lenox Industrial Tools 301. Fieldage just gotten the 1-to-go signal. Tony Stewart is the race leader. Then it's Jeff Gordon, Casey Mears, Kevin Harvick, and Brian Vickers are the top 5. Boyer is 6th. Then it's Johnson, Earnhardt Jr., Burton, and Hamlin. The top 17 cars did not pit. This guy got fuel and 4 fresh tires, but he doesn't need a lot of fuel, does he?
That is a Buckeye. I had one of those. That is a cool toy. You want one? Want to get one?
I do not want one. No,
Come on.
I do not want one. I do not want one.
We'll do a
Sorry.
fly across the county or something,
I tell
you and I.
You fly out, I'll bungee jump out of it.
Bobby Labonte running in 18th, the first car on the pit road. He took 2 tires. See how this changes things. 145 to go when they get the green. And we'll give you a little heads up. We've been told weather 30 miles away.
You know, we always talk about clear track, and obviously the 20 car likes clear track right now. But the other thing on these restarts, it's so important to clear that inside car in the first couple of laps.
And now you got the 15 up there, and now you got lap guys running side by side, but they're trying to be the first one a lap down in case the yellow comes out for the lucky dog. So now you got the guys like Harvick is blocked in.
Yeah, so now you got 2 or 3 guys. The first 3 cars are lead lap cars, and the next couple of cars are side by side, like you said, that are lap down cars, and then you're caught behind them, and man, you're just chewing on that steering wheel trying to get around them, screaming, telling your spotter, tell that 15 spotter to get out of the way.
And this is, like in Harvick's situation, this is when you lose to the leader. This is when you lose that track position because you're racing trying to get around those guys. And the guys up front, like Stewart and Gordon, they got clear track, so they're getting it.
And let's be real clear, the 15 and the 19 are doing nothing wrong. They're racing
They've
for the
got to
lucky
do
dog.
that.
They got to do that, man. They have got to run like that.
They're the top 2 cars, currently scored 1 lap down. Stewart leads, then Gordon. Boy, the 15 and the 19 are racing hard.
Yeah, they are. They're actually running pretty good. It's not like they're in the way.
No, the 29, they were in his way for about a lap, and then they put about a car length on him. And whether it's bad air or whatever it is, that's a big move right there by the 19 to go around the outside.
That's 33rd and 34th, but they're racing for the lucky dog.
And you say, how come somebody's racing that hard for 33rd and 34th? The trick is they get the lucky dog, then they're the last car on the lead lap. Next thing you know, they finish in the top 10 because they're racing for position now.
And all 43 cars are still in this race and still running. Tony Stewart started 28th, Gordon 19th, Mears 24th. Reed Sorensen, a 41 car, losing a number of positions right there. A.J. Allmendinger going by in the 84. See if we can find out what happened to Reed.
A little damage on his rear bumper there. Wonder if somebody got into him. Yeah. Montoya. Biffle locks it up.
Those would be teammates. 42 and the 41. Meeting on Monday. Jimmy Johnson and Boyer.
Man, that looks close. They could have been 6 foot between them, but it looks close.
Johnson had a announcement here on Friday, his 2nd annual golf tournament out in California. You can get all the information at jimmyjohnsonfoundation.org. It's going to benefit Habitat for Humanity.
It was a really cool event last year. I went out there. I had a broke hand. I didn't play in it. I sat up there at the 19th hole and watched everybody else play, but I had a good time. Rode on the beverage cart a little bit.
You have more excuses.
I got more excuses for not playing golf, but it was a great golf tournament. And Jimmy's from that area, and Habitat for Humanity and Lowe's built a couple of houses in that area, which is pretty cool to do something in the community you grew up in. Jimmy did a good job with that in his foundation.
Jimmy and his wife Shani, the co-founders of the Jimmy Johnson Foundation. Matt, who you watching?
Still watching Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's trying to chase down his teammate, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. If you go back and look at Junior's day, it took a turn when his team took the 2 tires.
The car is banging hard into the racetrack now. I think the smoke from above started to give up a little bit on me, and that's causing all this. I don't want you to fix that banging, though. Fix that way it handles. Don't worry about that banging. Yeah, I shouldn't even said that. You'll be working on that. I need you to work on the loose end and get that thing quit chattering right rear end.
And you heard him talk about how this 88 car is loose. They really thought that going with the 2 tires, that would help tighten it up. But that's information that Tony Eury Jr. can hold in his hand for later in this race when he looks at race strategy as the laps wind down, as they hope to score their first win here on the Magic Mile.
Thank you, Matt.
That's what Larry talked about when he was down there at the cutaway car. Exactly that.
And for some of these teams that have fast cars, they just get trapped in all this traffic. Juan Montoya took 4 tires on his stop. He's back in 23rd, and Greg Biffle took 4, and he's in 25th. Now that could come back to help them later in the race, but right now they are deep in the field.
Yeah, and you bring those guys into it, and Labonte's right in between them. Bobby's right in between. Bobby has run in the top 10 all day long. They were not one of the 17 cars that chose to stay out. They chose to come down pit road, and you're right, they're just not making any time.
30 races since Tony Stewart has been to victory lane in the Sprint Cup Series. He did win the nationwide race here yesterday, going for the weekend sweep in New Hampshire. NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing from Loudon on TNT is brought to you by LifeLock, #1 in identity theft protection. By Advance Auto Parts, keep the wheels turning. By Subway Restaurant, Subway Fresh. By Toyota. Tony Stewart. Last win came in Watkins Glen a year ago. Has a 2.5 lead over Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, that's almost a little bit of a misnomer there when you say last win at Watkins Glen. It was, but I think when you look at how he's run, he could have won 5 or 6 races between them and then and now.
This is also big for him because he was on the verge of falling out of the top 12.
I mean,
now, Kevin Harvick started the day outside the top 12, had been running well. Marty, what's the latest?
Yeah, Bill, he's been running in the top 5 for most of the day, but all of a sudden Harvick falling backwards, going the wrong direction. He said the car absolute junk right now. He said it just will not turn, way too loose, cannot get back to the gas right there in the middle of the corner like he would like, and that's where he's losing all of his time. Todd Barrier, his longtime crew chief, said, Kevin, I promise you, next stop, we'll get you fixed up.
Those crew chiefs promise you guys anything.
They do promise, man. They do promise.
They tell us what we want to hear.
Exactly what you want. But you know, we heard, I think we heard Junior talking earlier about bump stops giving up. Sometimes the air pressure, and as the racetrack changes a little bit, it takes a slight adjustment that seems to send these cars over the edge. And then you got to back up and take that last adjustment back out to get back to where you were.
Harvick, a former winner here. You can see the ground he's been giving up. And these two cars really just sailed past him.
Yeah, when they got around him, they just sailed away from him. That's for sure. It's not so much that they've just driven away. He's just dropped back and to that position. I'm gonna tell you what, I got to give a nod to Vickers. Vickers started what, 30-something back there? We're 38. 38. And once he got that position, he's been able to capitalize on that and keep that position, and that's pretty impressive. I'm gonna tell you.
It's the same with Mears. I mean, and we talked about it earlier. It's about track position. If you can get up there, everybody's running darn near the same time. So if you can get yourself in that position, you can stay there.
The practice, we look at practice sheets, and it says, and it ranks you where you're at in practice, and it was like the first 5 or 6 cars were ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then everybody else was ranked like 6th because everybody else ran the same speed, it looked like, in practice.
Stewart leads in a Toyota. There are 3 Toyotas in the top 10. The other 7 cars in the top 10 are Chevys, but that Toyota's out front. Here are some Coors Light cold hard facts. Toyota has led 2,081 laps this season, the most by any manufacturer. They led 166 in all of 2007. Our Coors Light cold hard facts. You're talking about Vickers. He didn't qualify in this race last year and finished 43rd in the September race here.
That's an impressive turnaround for that team.
It is.
You got to give them give the Red Bull team a nod for that.
And you know something? You talk to those guys in the garage on the 83 and the 84, and they just feel better.
Oh yeah. And look, you play golf. It's like getting yeah, but it's like getting that 1 or 2 good shots every round. It keeps you coming back. And what they didn't get races that really kept them pumped up. But they've been able to, especially with Vickers, they've been able to put together a couple of good races. Especially with AJ coming back. You know, after being out of the car for a few races, coming back that strong, it just keeps everybody pumped up.
This is 6th. Teammates, Boyer inside of Harvick. So Kevin loses another position.
Yeah, and he's got 2 more guys right behind him. Actually 3 with Burton back there too, I believe. Got Earnhardt, Hamlin, and Burton pretty much lined up behind Harvick. But yeah, 29's looking for a caution or to get in pit lane quick because they have definitely lost the handle on that car.
Yeah, they're just passing him at will right now. You know, before he really raced those other guys pretty hard. The 5 or the 83 and the 48. He raced them pretty hard, and then when he fell, it's like I got nothing to race him with. I just got to get out of their way and try to get back in my rhythm. You see that 11 still blowing that smoke,
I can't believe
man.
he's got that much smoke coming out there.
He's still throwing dust out of that thing almost every lap.
When you start seeing sparks, then that's trouble.
Yeah, that's trouble.
Because that means the brake pads are gone.
That means it's metal to metal. You people watching at home, that means it's metal to metal when sparks start coming out from that right front wheel.
Hamlin in the 9th position, trying to get 8th from Harvick.
Looks like a diesel.
It does.
Yeah, it does. It does look like a diesel. That's good.
You know what this race needs? Harry Gant.
Oh, yeah.
Good job on that.
That was fun.
That was a good, piece, man. Good piece.
Tony Stewart up front. Leads Gordon, Mears, Vickers, Johnson, the top 5 here at New Hampshire. 189 laps are complete in the Lenox Industrial Tools 301 here at New Hampshire. Tony Stewart is the race leader. Stewart with 32 career wins, all but 4 have come after the month of May. Has not won this season, but is out front by a little over 2 seconds over Jeff Gordon. Kevin Harvick has slipped back to the 10th position. Strong run here this afternoon for Tony. He was all smiles after the nationwide race here on Saturday. Well, there's David Reagan and Carl Edwards, a couple of Roush cars on board with Carl.
These guys have been stuck about right here all day long. There's a group of cars that are probably running from about 14th or 15th back to about 25th or 26th. They just rotate positions on pit road, but they don't do anything on the racetrack. And it's just, they're just that much off that they can't pass each other. And it shows how good Tony and some of these other guys are that are up front.
Give a call to David Rudiman. He's running in the 18th spot. David Reagan is 19th. Then Carl in the 20th. Then you see that 6th car, Ralph.
Well, Bill, actually, all 3 of these cars have kind of been up and down like a roller coaster all day long. They'll get one pit stop right, they'll get the car going a little bit better, and then David Reagan, for example, made a mistake and slid into his pit box, had to apologize to his crew, cost himself some positions. The 99 started off terrible. They finally hit on something, started creeping forward, then that went away. That's just the nature of the game right now with these guys, trying to find that right setup at the end of the race. And I think that's where that last pit stop is really going to come into play, guys. I think that last pit stop might not win you the race, but it could certainly cost you if you lose some spots when it comes to track position.
Hey, Ralph, what do you think of that paint job on the 6?
What's that?
What do you think of that paint job on the 6 car?
Paint job is very cool. In fact, we had one of the head folks from the Boston Red Sox here today. We had Mike D, who's the president of the Fenway Sports Group and the COO of the Boston Red Sox. He's actually listed as a car owner of the number 6. So if you're a Red Sox fan, you got to love that, which I know, Bill, you probably hate.
Well, Reagan really put the Yankees under the bus.
Yes, he
on
did.
Countdown the Green. But you know what? That number 6 in Red Sox lore is
wait, we got some more stats coming.
Let's go.
It's the most unlucky number in the history of the franchise. It's the number Johnny Pesky was wearing when Enos Slaughter beat the play at the plate to end the 46 World Series, and it's also the number Bill Buckner was wearing in the famous.
Yeah.
This is my radio headlights. Look, right here.
I don't remember any of that. I'm just watching the 11 car drive around the outside of the 88 at this point in time.
Never mind.
Are you kidding me? Where'd you come up with that from?
He's got a library in his basement at home. That's got every stat you can think of on you, me, everybody.
Matt,
it's like Santa Claus.
Bill, I'm a Tigers fan. I can't help you
Close
out
match,
there, brother.
Mike.
Well, I tell you one thing, that Dale Earnhardt Jr. would like his team to save him from this very loose race car. That's what he's been battling all day long. And you know what? We talk so much about success. There's so many different keys to it. One part of it is mental. Another part, feedback.
I need to hear something encouraging. know, we put the track bar down, but up in the left rear right there. So the track bar probably hurt your center, but we still haven't fixed her off. Put a pound in the right front, take maybe a little air out of the right rear, put that track bar back up, get you turning back in the center. You get D- for encouragement, so you're going to work on that during the week.
I know exactly how he feels.
Yeah. But you know what? Now, the track is changing too now. I mean, you know, we're getting more rubber on the racetrack, and the temperature's been going up. And these guys are having to chase the racetrack more. Even if your car was perfect and you came in and didn't make a lot of changes, by the time you're done with this run, you're going to be asking for something.
You know what's been funny about watching this car on different racetracks all year long? If you go back, you got guys that hit it right off the bat and they stay consistent all day long. And then you got guys that hit it at the first of the race and then totally miss it at the end of the race. And Jeff Burton's one of those guys who's just been right there in the mix. And we see him, he just went around the 88 a minute ago. He's been one of those guys that has been able to peak at the end of every race and finish in the top 10 almost every race.
And you know, on the other flip side of that, Truex, who I thought was one of the fastest cars at the beginning of the race, is down around the 17th spot and struggling.
Yeah.
Tony Stewart trying to become the first driver to sweep both races here at New Hampshire in the same weekend. There's another stat for you.
So then it just comes apart.
We're back here at New Hampshire under caution for A.J. Allmendinger. You see his climb from his car, and we will show you what happened.
Yeah, you see him come up off turn 4. You see it blow up right before the start-finish line. And you know, a lot of times when we break engines, you'll have valve train or you'll drop a valve, and it's when you roll out of the gas that you'll drop a valve a lot of times. When you're in a dead pull like that, the RPMs are going up, and that means you knock the bottom end out of the motor, which means you spin a bearing or you break a rod. You see it right here. It explodes. That's why you see so much oil up under the car, because the pistons and the rods and the crank and whatever is laying in the oil pan right now. It looks like a porcupine. With push rods and stuff sticking out the bottom of this thing, and that's where the fire comes from. He does a good job of getting the car back around, stopping in front of a fire station, and the guys do a good job coming out and getting him out of the car.
Reed Sorensen is the lucky dog. 204 laps are complete. You cannot make it to the finish from here, so pit strategy is going to be huge. Pits are open. Matt, coming to you.
Steve Letarte on top of the box waiting for his driver, Jeff Gordon, to hit their box. They're going to stop short about 2 feet to help their exit around the 8 of Eric Almirola. Gordon says the car, 2 free on entry and 2 free on exit. Small track bar adjustment, the call for the 24, Marty.
Matt, teams will be about 15 laps short from here. As Bill mentioned, you cannot make it to the end. 4 tires for Casey Mears and an air pressure adjustment. He said the car's a little bit tighter than it was last time. They're going to the first air pressure set that they had. Tony Stewart in front of him on pit road. Stewart very happy with the car. How good is it? The adjustment on Tony Stewart's car, 2/10 of a pound of air pressure in the left rear. He said we lost a little bit of forward bite, Lindsay.
Marty, Clint Boyer just left pit road. He said his car starts out getting a little bit too loose. They gave him 4 tires, fuel, took him back to the air pressure that they originally had this afternoon.
Thanks, Lindsay. Sort out the running order. Looks like Tony Stewart won the race off of pit road. Check it out when we come back to the Lenox Industrial Tools 301. Working our 4th caution of the afternoon here at New Hampshire. Tony Stewart, the race leader. Jeff Gordon is 2nd. Jimmy Johnson is 3rd. Casey Mears is 4th, and then Clint Boyer. Denny Hamlin is 6th, followed by Brian Vickers, Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, and David Rudiman in the 10th spot. Time to cue the duck. Here's today's Aflac trivia question. Before Jeff Burton's Loudon win in 2000, who was the last driver to lead every lap of a single race?
No clues. What race?
June of '78. Does that help you?
Yeah, it does. That would have been Cale Yarborough.
That's good.
Am I right?
You saw the card. I saw you peeking over there. I used to wonder how you got through school. Now I know.
Exactly.
Let me ask a stupid Aflac question.
Okay.
What's the name of this racetrack now?
New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
New Hampshire. What was it before?
New Hampshire International Speedway.
Yeah.
They lost their international status somehow.
Okay, I don't. But I want to say Jerry Gappins and those guys have done a great job here at the Speedway. I mean, when you look at the Bears did a great job, but when you come in and look at the new signage and the painting and everything that they've done here since Jerry's come up here, it's nice, man. It's not a bad place.
And next week we're at Daytona.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Can you send me directions?
I can, but if you need tickets, it's DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com. Kevin Costner is going to be there, right?
That's right. That's what I'm told.
Or if you watch at home, watch wide open coverage on
Wide
TNT.
open coverage.
Wide open coverage.
That's right. Of our wide open coverage.
We're going to have plenty of statistics for you.
Wow. You will have a stat attack at home with all the stuff Weber's got.
A lot of work.
He's got one right now in his hand. He's getting ready to read it.
Here we go.
Greg Biffle, too fast entering pit road. Ooh. Restarts at the tail end of the longest line.
He was already there, I believe.
Yeah. He was close to it. Biffle signed a 3-year extension with Roush Fenway.
Yeah, those tires are so low when they come out of the pits.
Yeah.
I mean, every time you look, it's just like, man, he's got a flat.
Going back to green.
Oh, wow, somebody blew up right in front of us. 50, no, 00. I mean, you could hear that thing blow up.
Good. That's McDowell. That's another Toyota. Staying under green here.
Load up.
Watching the flag stand, still staying green.
I think he'll make it back in if he takes the service road.
It's bottled up right here behind Jimmy Johnson.
He did a good job getting out of the way. Obviously, there's nothing on the racetrack. Those guys just goes down in there 3 wide.
Yeah, he was he was right in the middle of that restart, and everybody did a great job getting around him.
3 of the top 4 cars are Hendrick cars. Let's go back and check the restart.
He's in the inside row about halfway down, and you'll see this big black of smoke right there. That was him. How he didn't get run over, I have no idea.
And you see him turn right left under the line. He just turns left and gets down under the line right here. So he doesn't put anything down in the groove right here. That was good. He did a really good job there.
That's on board Terry Labonte's ride. Tell you what, very racy out there right now. Look at this pack.
That is. Wow, those guys. Free abreast there for a while. Well, they're still free abreast.
Oh my.
And you don't want to be in the middle here.
No.
That's the last place you want to be is in the middle. Just get out and find yourself a lane. Matt.
And a guy mixed in there is Kyle Busch in the 18, just moved up to 14th. But this has been one of those days where it's definitely been a work in progress. He has been loose all the way through the corner. No grip front or rear of the car. They made a track bar and air adjustment on the last stop. Hasn't really helped Bill.
That was a nice save by Mr. Amarillo right there. That was
a great save, man. You saw him hit the brakes, lock him up, turn him to the right, and then let off at just the right time to catch that. That was an incredible save.
Sorry about that, Matt.
No problem there, Bill. And one thing that this team is looking at, Kyle came on the radio a little while ago and says, when we get closer to the fall, we need to pencil in track test. He always doesn't really run as well as he'd like at Martinsville, even though he has had some good runs here. But you've got Phoenix and New Hampshire in the chase. He's already looking ahead to the chase and what area they need to improve on for later this year.
Thank you, sir. Casey Kane in the 9.
Now what? The 8, I believe he gets in the 44 or he gets tapped. I can't remember, but both.
Yeah, they all just check up.
But he did a nice job saving that thing, and everybody gave him plenty of room too, because if anybody would have touched him again, it would have been over.
Thank you for re-showing that, because he deserves a lot of credit for catching. You see, he rolls in, and the 44 starts up. He gets in the back of him, and then the 26 gets in the back of him, and he is 45 degrees right there, just about dead sideways.
That's twice you've thanked the truck today, you realize.
Oh, I'm sorry. I won't do it again.
He's gonna save it. Damn it! Oh, come on! I thought he had it saved.
Hold the brake, hold the brake, hold the brake. Stop it down. All right, get it cranked up.
That would have been the greatest save of all time.
That would have been great. But look, let's go back and watch where he got hit and where he finally got into the back of the wall, because he drove it through the corner sideways the whole way.
And start thinking about if you're coming under this caution too. If you're going to pit.
Yeah, you watch him go down in here, and Casey Kane just gets into him.
Yeah. You see Casey wiggle and get up into him right there.
200 feet, 300 feet. There's nothing you can do when you're hit and going into the corner. When you're hit like that, it's awfully tough to save a race car. It's one thing if you're in the middle coming off the corner, but when you're hit right there, ouch.
Yeah, you'll hear drivers all the time. They don't like it, but you don't mind being beat on in the middle of the corner and coming up off the corner because you're trying to drive up, he's trying to drive up, but when you're turning in, as free as these cars are, when you get tapped.
Well, the thing too is, Kyle, when you get hit there, you're off the throttle. When you get hit in the middle of the corner, you're on the throttle, so you can power out of a car that's loose, being loose.
It gives you the accelerator and the brake to kind of drive the car with. When you're going in like that, you're just driving it with the steering wheel.
Yeah.
You can't hang on to it.
We'll come pit.
Most of the cars stayed out. Casey Mears, one of the first to pit. Matt.
And Steve Addington talked about it earlier this morning. Looking at some pit strategy, trying to get some track position for the end of the race. No, they can't make it from here, but they go 4 turns. No, they call an audible. They go 2 on this stop to get him back out.
Looked like Mears was fuel only. There you see Kurt Busch leaving his pit stall. Working on the 8 car of Eric Amarola. The lucky dog, Elliott Sadler, in the 19 car, under caution here at New Hampshire. Field is coming out of turn 4 for the restart. The top 17 cars on the track stayed out. Casey Mears was running 5th when he pitted, fuel only. Stewart, the race leader. A couple of developing stories. We'll get in here after we sort this out a little bit. Because these restarts have been entertaining.
Yeah. Oh, 3 wide down into 3. Yeehaw. And that 38 and that 01 are racing each other really hard right now.
First 2 cars, 1 lap down. David Gilliland, Regan Smith.
Yeah, once again, really hard for that lucky dog. And this is when you get the cautions a lot of times at places like this. It's right after the restarts.
And Harvick's caught behind those 2 guys again.
Well, if you're like the 4th or 5th guy in line, you're just hosed on a restart, it seems like. It's been that way all day here. You just can't, those inside cars just get just enough in front of you to block you.
Talking to Lindsay and the guys on pit road. Teams are very closely watching rain in the area. Some teams think it could hit the track before we get to 301, some not as concerned. Start updating some of these cars up front. Lindsay on Clint Boyer.
Bill, I just talked to his crew chief, Gil Martin, and Gil told me that unfortunately they're about 10 short, and there's been a spin on the track, Bill.
Casey Kane
no caution.
Staying under green.
Wow. He never really stopped. He spun it around and just kept going. But he's now almost 2/3 of the track behind on tires that have been spun on.
And these guys are racing pretty hard. I don't know who the weather guy is. I don't know who our weather guy is, but I mean, all of a sudden these guys have stepped it up, like they're racing, for the win right here.
Yeah, these guys are racing like we're within the last 10 laps of the race.
Teammates right here, Gordon and Johnson. This is for 2nd.
Whoa.
Casey Kane has been on pit road, is now heading off of pit road. Casey Kane did go around, but we did, to be quite honest, we just don't have a camera angle of that to show you.
Yeah, we've got our, there's reports around the racetrack, but it's one of those deals where everybody's bunched up. We were talking about it after a restart. You're going to get together with somebody, and we saw it earlier when those guys got bunched up and the 8 car got spun. It's just one of those deals.
Okay, update on the 24, Matt.
Bill, Jeff Gordon is trying to hold on right now. His car just so free on entry and exit. Steve Letarte told him, now we've got shade moving in. Hopefully that will help give you a little more grip. And until we make our stop, Marty.
And his teammate Jimmy Johnson looks underneath him for that second position. We haven't talked a whole lot about Jimmy Johnson today as he slides up into his teammate there. Jimmy's car has been very good. He's been making his way through the field, but it's been tight for most of the afternoon. This is a great battle between teammates and friends, Bill.
And as we watch that, Marty, can you tell us a little bit about Mears and their strategy?
Yeah, real quick. They're going to be about 3 laps short on fuel, but Alan Gustafson thinks they're going to get some caution flags. They're going to stay out. Real quick, Kurt Busch, 2 laps short. They're going to go for it as well.
We're going to see how good of friends they are right here.
Yeah, I was going to say. They're racing each other pretty hard.
Because that 48 stood in the gas and just drove all over Jeff a minute ago. Jeff's going to stick it back up in there on him right here.
Rick Hendrick loves these moments.
I mean, Jeff raced him pretty clean, and the 48 just jumped in the gas and just drove over the side of him.
Well, you're going to get to the point where if you're side by side like this lap after lap, you're going to start driving in harder and harder into the corner, and the guy that drives in the bottom is going to wind up in the door of the guy on the outside, just because when you race side by side for 2 or 3 laps, you're trying to make something happen.
And while all this was going on, the 20 car disappeared into the sunset, and everybody behind them caught up to these 2 guys. Now you see the 11 car driving up under the 24.
Lindsay?
Well, Denny Hamlin right now, they pitted on lap 205. Remember, they took 4 tires. I talked to crew chief Mike Ford this morning. He said last year, that's exactly what they did. Then they ended up coming in on lap 45, and they took 2. That's what won them the race. So it'll be interesting to see. Right now, he says they will be forced to probably pit with 9 laps. They're going to be 9 laps short, but he would like to bring it in 270, 275, Bill.
Thanks, Lindsay. Do want to point out that Casey Kane has fallen out of the top 12. Currently 13th, 3 points behind Matt Kenseth in driver points.
Man, Gordon is just not giving in.
No. When he's on that outside, just like he was with the 48, he's got just enough grip and just enough turn. And you see this 07 just get loose under acceleration up off the corner and wiggle up into him.
Is this the patience thing you were talking about?
Yeah, that's it's out the window now. Now you got these guys have closed up just with that little wiggle on Boyer. Now he's got to be worried about losing his position.
A lot of places we run now are momentum racetracks, and once you see them check up a little bit and lose that momentum, everybody just closes in on you. So you're racing the guy in front of you, and all of a sudden you look in the mirror and it's like, God, there's 4 guys that have caught me. I've got to race them too, and that's not. You want to be racing one guy, and you want to be the guy making the move, not the guy getting a move made on you.
Harvick is 6th, then it's Vickers and Jeff Burton, Ryan Newman, and Earnhardt Jr. in 10th. That's a car that midway through this race was not very good. Kevin Harvick. How about it, Marty?
And remember all that complaining, Bill? Well, Todd Berrier delivered on his promise. The crew chief came through, went up to, or down 2 rounds rather, on the track bar, trying to tighten that thing up, and it's made the car much better. They are going to be short on fuel. They did not stop at 218 with the other guys, but the track conditions, look at it, cloudy, a little bit cooler out here now. This is when Harvick was so good yesterday, Bill.
Thanks, Marty. 8 of the top 9 drivers, as they run, have all won here at New Hampshire. Tony Stewart is the race leader. Got 67 to go. Weather might be coming. Got to keep watching. Here's today's Lultraman Ultra Power performer, Carl Edwards. He has 7 straight top 10 finishes, the longest current streak of any driver. 12 total top 10 finishes this season, including his 3 wins. Our Lultraman Ultra Power performer. Tony Stewart leads by about a second over Jimmy Johnson, and it's Denny Hamlin, Jeff Gordon, and Clint Bowyer, the top 5. "61 laps to go." Now, we told you we don't have a shot of what happened to Casey Kane, who spun a few laps ago, but we do have race view, and that's a computer-generated animation of what apparently happened.
Okay, now just remember that the 9 car did turn the 8 car into the wall on turn 2 when you view this, and we'll let you at home decide what maybe happened. Was that fair?
I think you did a great job.
That was good.
That was
That was
really,
good.
especially for you.
That was very fair. That
I
was
didn't know
good.
you could be
That
that
was very
diplomatic. There's Casey, 13th in points. And currently running in the 34th position, 1 lap down. After starting 14th. Tony Stewart started 28th. Looking for his first win of 2008.
I think that 48s took it up a notch here after this last restart, though.
You see Tony's last win at the Glen. His speeds at the line when they go by this time. Tony working his way through 3 and 4.
I think you're right, Kyle. I think Jimmy Johnson has been closing in on him here the last few laps. And again, this track changing is going to change in, for favor of some of these guys.
This is we're completing lap 244 right here. We've got 244 complete. Stewart's fastest lap of the race was a 236. Johnson's was a 234. Really hustling around this 1 mile track. There's Kurt Busch and Kyle Busch. Kurt in the 2, Kyle in the 18. That's his onboard ride.
And these guys have been kind of in this position for a long time during this race.
When the race started, Kyle picked up 7 or 8 positions, and that's about as far as he could go. And like I said, these guys have just passed on pit road, but they've been there's a group of them right here that's been right in this area.
Marty, the Busch brothers both pitted on 218.
Yeah, and Kurt, the one in front, is very happy with his race car. Chassis-wise, he said it's really the best they've been all year. They've been very happy with it. He's been very calm on the radio, just telling Pat Tryson what he wants out of the car. He's been a little bit tight on this run, but very happy with it, and they're going to try the fuel thing as well, trying to go all the way. Engine-wise, not so happy, but chassis-wise, he's very happy with that car, Bill.
I think he just locked up that left front. I think Montoya slowed down a little bit more than what Kurt thought, and he jumped on the brakes and locked that left front up.
And that seems to happen a lot more at this racetrack. Ooh, he got in the wall there a little bit too. But it seems to happen a lot more going into turn 3 at this racetrack than it does turn 1. I don't know if it's because the angle of the asphalt, whether it falls out from under you, but you see a lot more brake lockup going in and entering turn 3.
Kurt has only 2 top 10 finishes in 2008. Tony Stewart up front, getting a little darker here in New Hampshire. 53 to go. Tony Stewart is the race leader here at New Hampshire. Just 48 laps to go. Jimmy Johnson is closing in a hurry. He's cut that margin to about half a second. There's Johnson in the 48, the low Chevy. Working inside of Casey Kane. Kane is now 2 laps down. Now, we've been talking about weather since we started the day. And it is definitely closing in. That little circle right in the center, that's us. And there's a lot of green and unfortunately a lot of yellow and red on the radar.
The racetrack doesn't look that round from up here.
I knew you'd have something for me. Some guys see there. Well, that's our chopper. And they say that is about 25 minutes from the track.
We'll be done by then.
Yeah, we'll be done. I'm not worried about it. That's humidity. It's just hanging there.
It's just there, right? We're very fortunate to get as far as we have.
Yes,
with
we
what
are.
the forecast
yeah,
was.
If the people at home had been here this morning and looked at the sky and looked at the radar, we've been very blessed today to get this far in this race.
Wow, Jimmy Johnson, he is just chomping at the lead right now.
You know, Jimmy has made a lot of good time, but he's made good time on a clear racetrack. I don't know how Jimmy's car is. I've not really paid attention today. Oh, there's a locking up the front
A lot of guys
brakes.
are locking those brakes up.
I've not really paid a lot of attention to Jimmy today in traffic. Tony works traffic really well. His car has been working traffic really well. And that depends. You can have a fast car, but you got to have the whole racetrack to have the fast cars sometimes.
Look at that 48 though, roll into the center. That is where he's killing the 20 right now, is rolling to the center of the corner. Marty?
Yeah, that humidity, Kyle, is headed this way, okay? Just to let you know. It's coming this way, whether you want to believe it or not. And they're telling these drivers, and the drivers are not doing a lot of talking because you can tell the intensity picking up down here on pit road and out on the racetrack. Jimmie Johnson doing the best he can to catch that 20 car, and really it's the best the car's been all day long. Last run, they were a little bit loose, got a little tight towards the end of that run. Jimmy has not said a word so far on this run, so he's happy with that 48 car and catching that 22.
This is for the lead. On board with Tony Stewart, looking back at Johnson. Falls in line. You see the speeds, Jimmy. Faster than Tony on the previous lap, but Tony did catch traffic.
He does. He really rolls in that corner on him, man. But you know, Tony, and it's easy to roll in on somebody sometimes because you've got them to judge off of. You know what I mean? And you're racing them, so you've got them to judge off of a little bit, and it makes it. But Tony, when Tony gets a clear racetrack, he seems to get it up off the corner a little bit better when he can just let the car go all the way out to the wall.
But like you said earlier, Jimmie Johnson's really fast on a clear track. If he can get ahead of Tony and get out and get through some of this traffic, he's going to drive away.
The top 15 cars stopped on lap 205. There's no way they can reach the finish of this race if we go to conclusion. But they're not going to want to stop and pit until the last possible minute because of the possibility of rain.
Now remember, this is the first time Tony's seen anybody in his rearview mirror in about the last 150 laps, because he's been able to absolutely, after every restart, stretch a half straightaway or more on everybody. So this is the first time Tony's really having to race late in a race like this.
And this is where Tony's got to just read the traffic ahead of him better than anybody else right now. He's got to not make a mistake and get boxed in and give Jimmie Johnson that opportunity to box him in.
Johnson's only win of 2008 came on that 1 mile flat track in Phoenix. Led 120 of the 312 laps that day. Do want to point out a little deeper in the field, the Roush cars have really rebounded. Kenseth is 11th, McMurray 12th, David Reagan 13th, Carl Edwards 14th.
That's a tip of the hat to the 6 and the 99, because those guys were absolutely struggling and plodding along about 27 to 28. Kenseth has been right there all day long in the top 10 or 12, so he's been right there. And McMurray's kind of fluctuated, but those other two cars have come back. Look at the brakes glow on that 48. He's running as hard as he can right now. These guys, they got to be telling them over the radio, just like the guys on pit road, the pit reporters have said, that rain is coming.
There you see the Roush Fenway cars. Biffle had that pit road speeding penalty, also made a second stop under that caution on pit road so the team could work on the car. Michael McDowell and A.J. Allmendinger are out of the race. The other 41 cars still on the track. There are 29 cars currently scored on the lead lap. Kyle Busch, who pitted on lap 218, is 16th. His brother Kurt, who also pitted on 218, is 18th. "37 laps to go. Trying to get to the checkers. Oh, Jimmy very loose coming off the turn. Hangs on to it, chasing Stewart at New Hampshire. Tony Stewart continues to lead in that 20 car. Then the low Chevy of Jimmie Johnson, the 48, right behind him. Greg Biffle in that 16 is the last car on the lead lap. Scored in the 28th position. I want to bring in Larry McReynolds here for a moment. Larry, what are you thinking?
Well, let me clear the smoke from my calculator here. As you pointed out, Bill, the top 15 guys, we know they cannot make it. But what I'm watching, is the 18 car of Kyle Busch, who has really not even been in the top 15 today. I just believe, watching his race pace, that even though they maybe think he's 3 or 4 laps shy, I think he can make it. And you know what? What does he have to lose by gambling?
Right.
He's leading the points. He's got a 500-something point lead over the 13th place car. But go behind him, Kurt Busch's brother. We know that he's going to be close. What has he got to lose? He's 22nd in points right now. These guys, they need to gamble. I'd go for it. I'd run that thing just like Dale Earnhardt Jr. did at Michigan till it runs out of gas. And if it's after the checker flag, great.
Party on. All right. 31 to go. Let's go through the field. Stewart's the leader, and that's Snyder's assignment.
And Bill, they're about 8 laps short on fuel while we're talking about that. You know, they have 6 team members from New England, and they have reeled off stops today on pit road. 12.8 and 13.3 on the last couple stops. And Bill, there's a caution on the racetrack.
Caution is out. The car has spun. Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Got David Reagan, Jamie McMurray.
Wow.
Reagan has lost his right rear.
Yeah, there's no tire on that right rear left.
Tony Jr. just all up under the right rear.
Take a look here.
Looks like somebody was trying to get the pit lane.
The 88 was.
88 was, and McMurray just had no place to go. I don't think he was expecting Earnhardt to be pulling off there. Oh, Reagan must have just got caught up in it.
Wow. That's a hard hit right there, man.
Now watch this. David's okay there.
Oh, Reagan just got nailed in a right rear.
Yeah, Junior's down off the pace. You can see him down off the pace good. And down on the bottom of the racetrack. He was almost into the cone at that point in time when Jamie come off and just obviously didn't know he was stopping. You see Junior off the pace, turning left right here. Down below the line. Junior's down below the line.
Well, and Jamie was below the line. He was trying to get some grip down there on that apron, which we do all the time.
That's where we run. That's where you run. That's exactly right. What's his
forward with Junior, who was running 10.
And he doesn't expect this. Now here he is. You hear him. He's coming down. You hear him. He's off the gas. Boom. That's incredible right there.
Pit road is closed. We'll update the drivers when we come back to New Hampshire. Pit stops are happening under caution here in New Hampshire. Matt.
Going for the win, Jeff Gordon feels like he's better on older tires. Fuel only for the 24. Marty?
Matt, you'll see every bit of strategy is fuel only for Jimmy Johnson as well. Chad Canal said a lot of guys will be pitting here and or staying out here. Fuel only also for the 20 car of Tony Stewart. He said he wants to roll a little bit better, Lindsay.
Marty, Denny Hamlin had 57 laps on that set of tires. They've chosen also to go fuel only to save their tracks position, Bill.
Thanks, and it looked like Stewart definitely took two right sides.
Stewart may be the first car in line right there to take two, because I know those guys in front of him, the 24, the 48, the 11, that was a gas and go for them.
Right sides only for Tony Stewart. Came in as the leader. Cleanup continues here at New Hampshire after a 3-car incident. They got David Reagan, Jamie McMurray, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. There you see the front stretch. And the cleanup crew still at work. Boy, 27 to go. Still under caution here at New Hampshire. Kurt Busch is scored as the race leader. Now it's time for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile Monster moment. And it's not a happy moment for these guys, but it certainly has changed the complexion of this race. 3-car incident involving Earnhardt Jr., David Reagan, and Jamie McMurray. Stay tuned to all of the in-car audio, live radio, broadcast, stats, and more with NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile, only on the Now Network. Visit sprint.com/speed to find out more. Give you one more look here.
Man, that's a shot. Earnhardt got hit pretty hard right there. And so did Reagan, for that matter. But boy, this played into his hands.
Yep. Top 8 cars: Kurt Busch, Michael Waltrip, J.J. Yaley, Martin Truex Jr., Elliott Sadler in 5th, Reed Sorensen, Casey Mears, and Bobby Labonte. They all stopped on lap 218. Michael stopped on lap 220. They did not pit now.
And let's see, do you know who the first guy in line to take tires?
I think
was
Tony
it Stewart, and he's back in 14, so he's got a lot of cars. Not only that, but there's going to be all those cars on the inside.
Double
file. So now Stewart's got his work cut out for him.
Exactly, guys. Tony Stewart, I don't think can win this race. You're mentioning it. He's going to restart 14th. You've got a lot of cars that's a lap down. It's like he's restarting in 28. I don't think this 20 can win this race.
Larry, I'm going to go with you on this one. I think that those new tires are nice, but boy, track position, we've been talking about it all day. He doesn't have it.
And weather could be a factor. We're going to go green, but we want to hear from Jamie McMurray. Ralph, is that you?
Bill, it's me, Bill. Jamie, can you tell me what happened?
Not real sure. I guess the 88 was pitting, but typically when, when guys pit, they'll, the spotter says something, either theirs to yours or whatnot, and I was just trying to get underneath the 10 car, and I'd been running on the apron all day, and I was really focused on looking at the outside and seeing where he was, and I never saw the 88.
And that sounds weird, but it's not. Because what Jamie's talking about is when you're in that position, you're looking way down the road on where you want your car to wind up off that corner, and you think the 88's going to be gone by that time. So it sounds funny, like you didn't see it, but he was looking way far ahead.
He was looking way far ahead, and just like you said, he had looked past the 88. He never thought about the 88 pit, and he said it right there. He never thought about it, and all of a sudden the guy stopped in the middle of the racetrack in front of him. And under the yellow line, we've seen it from the very beginning. That's part of the racetrack here. That's part of the racing groove.
This is not what Kurt Busch wants. He does not want to have to race Robbie Gordon, who's a lap down very hard.
Yeah, Robbie's trying to get his lap back the hard way, and that's earn it. And I can tell you right now, Robbie's never going to give up.
And he locked the left front. Into the leader.
Yeah. He's just not going to. He's not going to give up. He locked the left front up, and
crash behind you. Keep going. Keep going.
Caution
and
is
he's
out.
going to get his lap back now.
It's Clint Boyer.
Take your time. Get fired
Sam Hornish in the 77.
Come on straight.
Boy, how things change in a hurry.
Wow. That's why you have to watch a whole race, because the complexion of a race changes about every 5 laps once you get in the last little bit of a race.
And I don't think Boyer's real happy with Hornish. We'll watch what happened on the replay.
Oh, my goodness.
And they're still wrecking.
That's your championship leader right there.
This is at the end of the front stretch. What these guys do, this had to be under caution. Oh, man.
Mackerel.
Wow.
I think there's more to this story, folks.
Yeah.
We'll Don't take your camera off that car.
Yeah, and this had to have happened under caution because these other guys had time to wreck and crank up and get going again.
All right, here we go. 07, and Hornish just clipped the 07 of Boyer. Man, how everybody else did a great job here. Now, you see the 18 and the 42 got through that cleanly. There was no problem.
Now, you see the caution flag waving.
Oh, man, 42 just turned into the 18.
Oh, and he came back and got him.
Yeah, the 42 turned left, which turned the 18 to the outside wall, and he spun around and clipped him again.
Now that was pretty much, that's about as intentional as you can get to turn in a car. Montoya completely did that on purpose.
That looked intentional, man. You got to give that. That looked These guys are racing back to the line. They're racing back to the line.
And this is, okay, they're done.
For no reason.
They're done. Kaboom.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that, man.
Might want to roll that onboard back.
Oh, come on.
Robbie Gordon did get the lucky dog.
Okay, now you saw the 18 turned at the 42 earlier back there.
Right.
But turning in a guy and turning a guy are two different things.
Take a break, come right back to New Hampshire on TNT. We're under caution here at New Hampshire with 18 laps to go. Kurt Busch is the race leader. We're under caution for a crash between Clint Boyer and Sam Hornish. And while we were under caution, there was contact between the 18 of Kyle Busch and the 42 of Juan Montoya.
And yes, that's heavy humidity that you're seeing on your screen right now.
So we're under a double caution?
Double caution.
Are we under a double caution?
No, we're only under one caution. But there's going to be some caution coming up here.
There's going to be some.
Now here is the restart.
Keep your eye on the 18 and the 42 this whole lap. The 18 and the 42.
And don't forget, I mean, it's a restart. You're going to run. You're going to run hard. You're going to give each other room, but these guys aren't giving each other much room.
There's no more give and take here. It's all take.
But still, there's nothing foul here.
Yeah, there's 25 laps to go. These guys have got to race. They're racing hard right here. There's nothing wrong right here.
Then they get bottled up here. There you see the crash between the 77 and the 07. Now, caution is out at this point, so the field is slowing down.
Now the 18 will just rub over a little bit, get a little tire rub from the 42.
And the 42 gets into the 18, and the 18 gets into the 42. And then these guys were very, very fortunate they didn't take somebody else out, because these two guys were doing something with each other, the 18 and 42, that could have very well ended the day for some innocent guys out there.
And next week we do go to Daytona. It's a July 4th weekend full of fast cars and Major League Baseball fireworks. The Coke Zero 400 live from Daytona Saturday, July 5th, 7:30 with TNT's limited commercial wide open coverage. And don't miss the exclusive coverage of the Major League Baseball All-Star Game Selection Show. That's at 2 p.m. next Sunday. And if you're down in the Daytona Beach area, DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com. Pick up your tickets and come on out to the track. And if you're at home, you see our wide open coverage. They are bringing the field down pit road. And this would be for the humidity.
It's good though, man.
I mean, look, you got Kurt Busch sitting there second. Busch is leading.
Right.
Michael is second. Yaley third. These are guys that made something out of a really bad day.
But
if this stays, they are going to be heroes.
Yeah.
Hey guys, the way I see it, Pat Trice and Kurt Busch, I don't know how they can lose here. If we don't get restarted, they win the race, and those tires he's sitting out there on, they're going to get nice and cool during this red flag. And he's got a lot of friends behind him that are on the same agenda. Denny Hamlin only made up one position. Now Denny is already just up to 8th. All those cars in front of Denny are on the same agenda as the 2-car in Kurt Busch.
Thanks, Larry. Now, I want to show you another reason that Kurt Busch and Pat Tryson might be two of the luckiest guys in New Hampshire today. Now, this is the last restart. We're going to look at the back end of the 2-car. Now, see right in, what is that?
I think that's like a brake duct and a brake blower, and you see the clamp come off. The clamp is like a hose clamp that keeps it on either the blower or on the lower control arm, which ducts it straight into the brake area.
You're right. You can see the hose hitting the ground.
So the rain
he's not really going to need that.
Could be a savior for Kurt Busch.
It is a savior for a lot of guys.
For a lot of guys. He's not the only one. It's going to be a savior for him as far as taking home the largest check, maybe. Okay, but it helped a lot of people, and it hurts some people. Anytime something like this comes along, it helps one group. Tony Stewart taking 2 tires right there and putting themselves in that position. When we look down here on pit road, Tony Stewart's car is sitting on pit road 4 from the end in the outside line.
He's in 13th spot.
Yeah, 4 from the end in the outside line. That's phenomenal that the guy led the whole day and then 1 call on pit road. And I know we hammer strategy and we hammer what goes on pit road, but that's what makes this such a great sport and makes it so. It's a team sport. You got to be in the right place at the right time, no matter how fast
be
you are.
getting sick of this.
Oh my God!
Because he's been in position to win so many times this year, and they just have put themselves out, or something's happened, or it just has not worked. They have not been able to close the deal.
132 laps led by Tony Stewart this afternoon, of the 284 that are complete. And part of that strategy, I guess some of the thinking has to go into the fact that they really are in a situation where they want to make sure they stay in that top 12.
Yeah, and that's got to be part of it. But, and Wally said it. And Wally brought it up, and I think Larry brought it up. You look at the 2, the 55, the 96, those guys weren't going to win the race, man. They had no chance of winning it. They had to do something dramatic. That is strategy. Taking 2, taking 4, doing some things during the race, yeah, that's playing strategy and you're messing around. But doing what these guys did, knowing you had no chance at doing anything at all and turning nothing into something is pretty special.
And just want to point out that the race has not been called. It's simply been stopped because of rain and the wet track. And we've got a lot of daylight left. So we'll see what happens here. Larry?
Yeah, I just, we've talked about Kurt Busch and we've talked about Michael Waltrip. Of course, Michael fighting to stay in the top 35. But how about that 96 car, J.J. Yaley, missed the race at Infineon last week. And you know what? What did they have to lose? They're almost so far outside the top 35 that they almost can't even get there unless they have runs like this, sitting there in third place after missing the show last week.
Man, oh man. Let's go down to Marty.
I think in Kurt Busch's world, this is a monsoon, my friend. It's raining pretty hard, isn't it, according to you?
Yeah, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. The weather has been rainy all weekend. I saw the forecast, and I know Pat Tryson did as well. But, we were on more of a fuel strategy, and in this day and age of saving fuel, this means a lot to us and what we've done with our jetting and getting our carburetors and getting the Penske power that we need, as well as the fuel mileage. But, we might not be the fastest car. Maybe we didn't deserve to win, but the record books will show that we won the Lenox 301, and we're happy to put Miller Lite up front. But this isn't in the bag, and so we still got work to do.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not official yet, so let's not count those chickens before they hatch.
We had Robbie Gordon there on the inside, roughing us up. He had fresher tires, and I was like, go, just get going, get out of the way. And so now I've got to hold off guys that are on the same tires as we are. And that's what racing's all about. Sometimes it's strategy. It's not about speed.
Are you aware that something's dragging from the left rear of the car? Has anyone told you that?
No, I hadn't seen that.
A little duck hose, it looks like.
Looks like there's a car cover on there.
Brad Hutton's back there giving you a shot of it.
Oh, look, you guys are exposing it. All right, easy now.
No, but I mean, so no one told you about that, so you weren't worried about that?
No, I did have one light come on the dash, and it was rear end fan number 1. They said it was our rear brakes. So we haven't had rear brakes, all fans blowing on our rear brakes, so might have melted the bead on that hose. That's why it's hanging there.
All right, are you a good dancer? Can you do a rain dance for us so it'll continue to rain? Maybe you can get Eva to do that, right?
You don't want to see me dance, we'll give it to her. I'd rather quote Rain Man from the movie than dance.
All right, obviously Kurt Busch hoping that this one pours from here out, Ralph.
Well, Tony Stewart's not getting out of the car, Marty. He's not done with this race yet, and if they give him a chance, I know he'd go right back at it. Smoke, I know you didn't feel too good this morning. I'm sure emotionally you feel even worse right now. As a race car driver, I know it's your job to get back in the car and go get another one next week. But for most of us that don't do what you do, how do you find the energy, the determination to get back in the car with so much frustration like you've had this year and today in particular?
It's easy. I mean, we're racers, and that's what you do every week. I mean, it's 43 of us start the race each week, and only one guy can win. So it's just been the oddest year I've ever seen for this race team. I mean, it's disappointing for all of us on the Home Depot team. I mean, I guarantee you there's a crew chief down there that they're hiding shop objects from right now. I mean, he gave me the best car I've had since Charlotte. So, I mean, it's just frustrating. I mean, there isn't anybody that's going to tell you any different than that. I mean, it's nothing you can do. I mean, we knew what to do, and if there was something we could do about it, we'd change it. But we just, keep plugging away each week. We'll get it turned around.
Do you take any comfort in the fact that the car is performing very well, the team is performing very well, and that the luck eventually has got to turn?
I think so. I mean, it's none of the results this year due to lack of effort. I mean, I got some of the best guys in the garage area, and I've had them for 10 years, and it's the worst string of bad luck we've ever seen. But there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, there's a percentage of this industry that's called luck, and you can't change it. I mean, all you can do is do like we've done today, and work hard and claw our way from 29th and get to the lead, and you got to have some luck on your side. We just haven't had any of it this year.
Lindsay.
Marty, I'll tell you, someone else who hasn't had much of it lately is his teammate, Denny Hamlin. Denny, you guys running as high as third. I know that you are using some pit strategy there. What are your emotions right now as this rain pours down?
We knew it was coming. If we stayed out, we were going to have to pit as soon as right about this time. So it was going to be a gamble. We knew we could go about 11 more laps or about 20 more laps under caution. So we could have stayed out and maybe snuck a win there, but we were coming that green flag run with about 25 to go or so with the 48 and 20. So, everyone we're chasing in points is behind us anyway. So congratulations to the guys that figured this rain out just right.
Do you feel like it's time to go pick the 4-leaf clovers or what? Because I know your teammate was just talking about his hard luck.
Yeah, I mean, that's a shame for Tony to have such a dominant car there. But we've been bit so many times. He's been bit so many times. The 18's got good fortune. It seems like they've caught a couple wins like this before. So, but the whole FedEx ground crew worked hard. We had great pit stops all day. I got to thank Toyota and all those guys for backing us up all year. And we're going to take this finish whether we go back or not. We feel like we're going to improve if we do go back racing. We're definitely not going to go backwards.
Thanks, Denny.
This race has ended. NASCAR has declared the race over. Kurt Busch is the race winner.
You know, and I disagree with what Kurt Busch says about, well, maybe we didn't deserve this. You win one of these races, I don't care how you win a cup race today, your team deserves it.
Yeah, and we talk about strategy and we talk about all this stuff. When you listen to Denny Hamlin, you listen to the 20 car, you look at the 48, you look at those guys that are in the top 12 in the chase. They have to be a little conservative to stay in the chase. These guys right here that are up front that won this race and stuff, they didn't have a snowball's chance today. They were going to run in 28th or 29th. They weren't going to get any points hardly. They had to gamble. This is big. I like to see stuff like this because it keeps people coming back week in and week out, because no matter how the race goes, you never know what's going to happen.
Well, when you won at Watkins Glen in the ring, were you one of the best cars that day? Do you remember?
Was I that day?
Yeah, I think you were.
I was a good day. I was a top 5 car. I was a top 5 car. Irvin ran that day, and I was a top 5 car. And yeah, we were, but man.
Kurt Busch is the race winner. Michael Waltrip, J.J. Yaley, Martin Truex Jr., Elliott Sadler get top 5s. NASCAR Sprint Cup racing from Loudon on TNT is brought to you by Miller Lite. For the perfect combination of taste and refreshment, choose Miller Lite. Why drink anything but Miller Lite, the ultimate light beer? By Advance Auto Parts. Keep the wheels turning. By Sprint, proud sponsor of the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful. And by McDonald's. Race scheduled for 301 laps, but called after 284 because of rain. And Kurt Busch, who started 26th, is the race winner. He's in victory lane, sort of, with Lindsay.
Bill Weber, thank you. Sort of. This is so unconventional. We're in a garage. It's pouring down rain, but you don't care. What are your emotions getting the win in the nature that you did, Kurt?
This is unbelievable. I mean, I'm so happy for our team to get into victory lane. We might not have had the fastest car, but we played the strategy game. Fuel came into play. That's when we pitted. We made it to the end, and the Penske power was there, but we had the fuel mileage, and that's what enabled us to pit. And Pat and these guys made an awesome call. I want to thank the fans for sticking it out. I mean, there's high winds and there's hail coming in, and it's just incredible to race in front of them and not have the fastest car necessarily to win, but we did it today for Miller Lite. We can celebrate either way, if we won or if we finished 20th.
You haven't had a win since August of 2007 at Michigan, so what does this do for the team?
Well, it gives us a lot of boost in getting our points back, but yet it's not going to erase the deficit that we have to keep building on. We're pretty far behind. We need to put together a run like we had last summer to get into the chase, and I know everybody at Dodge and Mobil 1, Gillette, everybody's happy that we did it. Snap-on Tools, PPG Paints, I'm happy to have everybody on board, and I just, sometimes you just don't win them the right way, and I think we can honestly say that, but we had a lot of work and a lot of effort put into this, and we'll take it.
I'm going out on a limb and saying this brings a whole new meaning to rain dance, Bill.
Without a doubt. A few Miller Lights for that crowd tonight. 29 races between wins for Kurt Busch. Now, there was an incident on the track between Kyle Busch and Juan Pablo Montoya, and a few moments ago, Marty Snyder caught up with Juan.
Well, caught up with Juan Pablo Montoya, and Juan, what happened with you and Kyle Busch?
I don't know. We always give each other a lot of room. In that restart, I got around the outside of him at turn 2, and he just went wide like I wasn't there. We started hitting it, we touched each other. Then I got beside like I wasn't, like trying to wreck me, and okay, went through the corner, the wreck happened, slowed down, and I tried to say, what are you doing? And next thing I think, he's starting to hit me, and it gets to a point that it's too much, He runs good, yeah, he's got great cars, yeah, but, I thought we had a decent car today, and I don't appreciate when people race me like that. There's a fine line, and he just crossed it.
So then did you turn into him intentionally?
Yeah, the same way he did at me.
You guys talked?
No, we haven't.
Juan Pablo Montoya's thoughts after this race. Obviously a little upset with Kyle Busch.
All right, man. All right, Juan said, yeah, I did it.
I love
so
that guy.
glad. I was like, I hope he doesn't say, yeah, no, I'm not sure.
No.
I have to look at the replay.
No.
Okay.
He is honest, and you got to give that. You got to give that to Juan Montoya. No matter what happens to him, he tells you straight up.
Okay. The other side of the story, a few moments ago, Matt talked to Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch has just exited his team hauler. Break down for us, Kyle, what the incident was between yourself and the 42 of Montoya.
Honestly, I have no idea. I got a run on him earlier, like, I don't know, about 50 laps ago, and got to his outside, and he kind of kept coming up a little bit. I mean, I didn't turn down into him, and just barely touched his quarter panel, and then got by him in 3 and 4, and he run me up the racetrack in my left rear, and then we come to that caution flag, and he thought he beat me to the caution flag, and I was just trying to get around the 40 car who was in front of us there, and touched him on the door, and he just turned left and spun me out down the front straightaway. So I don't know what his beef is, but obviously NASCAR and us should probably fix it.
Overall, when you look back at this day, it was a work in progress, and just to make you guys couldn't quite get the car balance-wise where you needed it.
No, I mean, it wasn't something that was going to get fixed on the racetrack. You know, we needed to go to the garage area and work on it. I mean, we missed something all weekend. I knew it was going to be a dismal day, and if we would there, we could have won the race. We could have been where the 2-car was, but I just didn't feel that that was the right way to win a race, was to stay out and play by the rain. I didn't feel like we had a shot to hold off the guys that were going to be behind us, and we did what we did to, try to pass some more cars.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yep.
Championship point leader finishes 24th today.
Thanks, Matt. Came in 103 ahead, leaves just 67 ahead.
And you know what, Kyle, I mean, this has been going on for how many years has Cup been around? I mean, this stuff's been going on forever. But you can't turn a guy.
No.
I don't care how mad you are. You turn a guy in a caution, because you said earlier, he had an opportunity to take out 3 or 4 or 5 guys that didn't have anything to do with this deal. So, that was not the right thing to do.
But here's what I like about drivers, okay? You heard each one of them explain their position. They saw it 180 degrees different from each other. And at the same time, they brought up stuff that happened 50 laps ago in the race. Tell me these guys don't remember stuff.
We can take a look at the unofficial results. Do want to point out that Kyle Busch was running 18th before he was wrecked, and when we go through this, you should find him about 24th. So Kurt Busch gets the win. Michael, JJ, Truex, Elliott Sadler, who I know you guys are watching because he was racing so hard, even though
he had to get that lucky dog. He had to get the lucky dog to get back in this position. Bobby Labonte, they made a good pit call to get him back in the top 10.
There's Tony, led 132 laps.
Vickers and these guys that ran so good. You look at Vickers, you look at Matt. Matt run about 12th or 13th most of the day. But you look at Tony and you look at some of these guys that ran so good. Kevin Harvick, Eric Amarola come back from a couple of spins there. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was run over coming down pit road, ends up 23rd.
It's Montoya in the 25th spot. Casey Kane in the 31st position. Patrick Carpentier was the pole sitter. The rest of the finishing order. Here are the unofficial points as we get ready to head to Daytona. Here they are. So Kyle came in 103 ahead. Jeff Burton makes up ground. And look, Matt Kenseth falls out. He's 8 points out of the top 12.
Harvick back in the top 12.
Next weekend, it's a weekend full of fast cars and Major League Baseball fireworks. We'll have the Coke Zero 400 live from Daytona Saturday at 7:30, and our wide open limited commercial coverage. Don't miss the Baseball All-Star Selection Show. That's next Sunday, followed by the Cubs at Cardinals beginning at 2 p.m. on TBS. Coming up next on TNT, it's Black Gold. It all starts next, and you want more post-race excitement? Go to NASCAR.com right now to watch the Jack Daniels post-race show. For Wally and Kyle and the whole gang on pit road and in the truck, Bill Weber saying so long. Congratulations to Kurt Busch.